Amendment. A woman from Milton Keynes is celebrating after having a libel case against her dropped. Leslie Kemp complained publicly on Twitter that her employer had delayed paying her. Tony Fisher has more.
Following the Twitter post, Mr Kirby Kearns of Resolution Productions instigated libel proceedings against Ms Kemp this time last year. Ms Kemp, who transcribes recordings, had accepted a job from the Qatar-based firm but experienced delays in being paid. She was shocked about the libel action, which Mr Kearns says he dropped as he was unwilling to pay the security to cover her costs.
The Church of England's National Assembly is expected to back new proposals paving the way for the introduction of women bishops. The General Synod is likely to agree to set up an independent ombudsman for those parishes who will not accept the authority of a woman. A fresh vote to allow women to become bishops could then take place in July. Police in Hertfordshire are warning about a potent batch of heroin which has left one man dead. The 37-year-old was found at a flat in Hudson in Watford. There was another death of a drug user in Milton Keynes. Detective Inspector Marcus Bromley is from Herts Police.
The person, once they've administered it, becoming unwell, and if they don't seek medical assistance rapidly, then obviously could potentially result in a fatal or near-fatal overdose.
A study into global fitness has found that many children today cannot run as fast as their parents did decades ago. According to the research, children are about a minute and a half slower over the course of a mile than their peers 30 years ago. In sport and football, Wycombe Wanderers are through to the second round of the FA Cup. The Chairboys beat Crewe 2-0 in their away replay, but Boreham Wood was knocked out of the competition. The weather, any showers clearing to allow some sunny spells this morning, with further showers this afternoon and a high of 6 Celsius. Get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
We're coming to towns and villages all across our counties.
It's got a huge heritage and it's a very unique place.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks.
It's impossible to go one day without bumping into someone you know.
All this week in Wolverton.
The community is the best part about Wolverton.
The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks. All this week in Wolverton. BBC Three Counties Radio.
So we have a generation of young fat kids waddling around slower than their parents, do we? Do we? You say that to my two boys when they run off heading towards the main road. You can't catch them for anything. Oh dear, oh dear. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots on the show this morning, including half of our hospitals are topping up with foreign nurses. Are you bothered? Police are warning heroin addicts that their next hit may be their last. Are you bothered? And people are getting into trouble for saying stupid stuff on Twitter. Are you bothered? If the answer to any of those questions is, well, yes, actually a bit, then this is the show for you. If not, do stick around. I might play a little bit of Cliff Richard later on. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR. Give me a call, 08 459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
So, the Royal College of Nurses, the RCN, has been speaking out about a shortage of nurses on wards across the country. But it seems it's not news to our local hospitals. They've already found at least a partial solution. They've been recruiting nurses from overseas. According to the RCN, half of all hospital trusts in the east of England are at it, with Bedford hiring 44 nurses from Spain in one go, West Herts offering positions to 84 from Spain and Portugal, and North Herts currently trawling for staff in Portugal and Ireland. Well, Bucks Healthcare told our political reporter Paul Scoynes that Spanish nurses were, quotes, better trained, unquotes, than their UK counterparts. Well, if you're a British nurse, I'd love to hear from you this morning. The Spanish are better trained than you? 08459 455 555. I'm joined now by John Wilkinson. He's the Royal College of Nursing representative in Bedfordshire. Spanish nurses are better trained than their UK counterparts. John, what's your reaction to that?
Well, that certainly wouldn't be the view of the Royal College of Nursing. We're very proud of the training that's provided locally and elsewhere in the UK for nurses here. So we wouldn't agree with that statement. What we would say is that European countries are all signed up to common standards in training, and therefore there are commonalities between overseas nurses coming in from EU countries and certain other countries. But they're certainly not a view in the Royal College of Nursing that they're in any way superior in the training that they receive or in the care that they would deliver.
Where are all the British nurses?
Well, this is something that is of great concern to the Royal College of Nursing. We work closely with Bedford Hospital and other local hospitals, and also the local Education and Training Board, which is responsible for deciding how many nurse training posts there will be. And I think it is certainly of concern to us that there are a number of people entering nursing training now are fewer than they were in recent years, and that's going to have a knock-on effect. It's having an effect now, clearly, but it also has the potential for a knock-on effect in a few years' time when those students come through their course and are ready to take up qualified nursing posts at the end of their course.
So we could have even more foreign nurses a few years down the line?
I think that the challenge in Britain is to make sure that we have a very good supply of people wanting to train to be nursing. It's a fantastic job, and there is very good training available locally and elsewhere in the UK. And I think it's really important that the government and those people in senior positions to decide on the number of training posts are very mindful of the increasing need for healthcare. One of the key features, I think, is that our population in Britain is growing older. Healthcare is advancing, and that means that there is an increasing need for care for patients with very complicated health needs.
But foreign nurses are capable of doing that, aren't they?
Yes, I think that the local people of Bedfordshire can have confidence that the nurses that come in will be able to do a very good job, and indeed there are people from all over the world working in the National Health Service at the moment, and we need to be mindful that the local population that the health service is serving reflect a very international community as well. Bedford, the local population served by Bedford Hospital, is clearly a very cosmopolitan locality. We will be meeting with those nurses early next week. I think I'm meeting with them on Monday, and one of the things we will be doing is introducing them to the continuing education resources that the Royal College of Nursing provide, so that they can continue to develop their training, which is something that you would expect of all people working in the health service to keep themselves up to date.
What about the language barriers, John? Is there a problem with language?
Well, there are regulations around language, and I think the important thing about language is not only a good command of English, but also to have really good insight to local needs as well. Every region has not only its local dialect, but it has its own kind of local particular phrasing and that sort of thing. And I think that one of the things that we've said to the management of Bedford Hospital is that it's really important to have an orientation period so that people can start to integrate themselves into the local community. They'll be part of the community here in Bedford, and part of being part of that community is to be able to get involved with local dialect, local phrasing, and that sort of thing as well. And one of the things that we will be talking to the new nurses about when we meet them next week will be to encourage them to make sure that they're happy that they're getting a good orientation to help prepare them for the non-clinical aspects of their job, which is communication is really, really important in healthcare, and we want to support those nurses to make sure that they get all the help that they might need.
John, thank you very much for getting up at this ridiculous time of the morning and talking to us. John Wilkinson, Royal College of Nursing representative in Bedfordshire. What do you think? If you've been in hospital, you can certainly, you can have your say on this at any point. 08459 455 555. Have you encountered foreign nurses Is there a problem with it? If they're doing the job well enough and they can be understood, then that's fine, is it? If British people aren't wanting to be trained as nurses, then what do we do? Do we make it more attractive to Brits to become nurses, or do we just accept that's the way it's going? 08459 455 555. And what do you think to what Bucks Healthcare told BBC Three Counties Radio, that Spanish nurses are better trained than their UK counterparts? Are you a British nurse? Does that upset you? 08459 455 555. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Or you can send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR.
You were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. When I met you, I picked you out, I shook you up and turned you around, turned you into someone new. Now 5 years later on, you've got the world at your feet. Success has been so easy for you. But don't forget, it's me who put you where you are now, and I can put you back down too. Don't you want me? You know I can't believe it when I hear that you won't see me. Don't you want me? You know I don't believe you when you say that you don't need me. It's what you're left to find. You think you change your mind? You'd better change it back, or we will both be sorry. Don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh, don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh, I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. That much is true. But even then I knew I'd find a much better place, either with or without you. The 5 years we've had have been such good times. I still love you, but now I think it's time I live my life on my own. I guess it's just what I must do. Don't you want me? You know I can't believe it when I hear that you won't see me. Don't you want me? You know I don't believe you when you say that you don't need me. It's what you're left to find. You think you've changed your mind? You better change it back, or we will both be sorry. Don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh, don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh. Don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh, don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh, don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh, don't you want me, baby? Don't you want me? Oh, don't you want me, baby?
Morning, Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Don't you want me?
Spanish nurses are better than British nurses. That's what's being said. What do you think? 08459 455 555. Good job, they are better. A load of them are coming here to work in British hospitals in the three counties. Does that worry you? If they're good, we should embrace them with open arms. Let's be honest. We've all met some nurses, some British nurses who've been, how can I put this, ropey. Little bit ropey. Met some excellent ones as well who go above and beyond, but some that have been very disinterested in caring, which is odd considering they're part of a caring profession. 08459 455 555. Your experience with nurses, please. BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Alice.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
No problems showing up on the speed sensors so far this morning. The roadworks in Bedford at Goldington Road are going to finish tomorrow. That's the ones around George Street. There are some problems further afield on the M25. Clockwise at the QE2 bridge, there are only 2 lanes open after a serious accident. There are queues already back to junction 30 for Lakeside, so that may cause real problems as the morning rush starts if you go in that direction. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alice, thank you very much. 6:16, it's Wednesday the 20th of November. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Bedford Hospital has turned to Spain to recruit nurses. Hertfordshire Police are warning about a strong batch of heroin which has already killed a man in Watford. In football, Wycombe Wanderers beat Crewe 2-0 last night, taking them through to the next round of the FA Cup. And the weather, sunny spells this morning, but showers this afternoon and a high of 6 Celsius. 08459 455 555. Coming up, there's an ultra-pure batch of heroin that's doing the rounds and people are dying of it. You got any sympathy for them?
BBC Three Counties Radio. Roberto Perrone.
I can bring you now some good news for women. What do you look like in a pair of Speedos or swim trunks? A pumpkin had been stolen from outside a hairdresser's salon.
We've had lots of support since your programme, lots of phone calls telling us not to worry and everyone's looking out for them.
What could I do to bring a smile to Dame Kelly Holmes' face? Do you know what that sound is?
I do. They're alpacas. I've got 6 alpacas. They're lovely. Everyone takes the mickey.
Roberto Perrone. Weekdays from 3 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Looking from a window above, it's like a story of love. Can you hear me? Came back only yesterday, moving further away. Want you near me? All I needed was the love you gave. All I needed for another day. And all I ever knew, only you. Sometimes when I think of your name, and it's only a game, and I need you, listening to the words that you say, getting harder to say. When I see you, all I needed was the love you gave. All I needed for another day. And all I ever knew, only you. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da. All I needed was the love you gave. All I needed for another day. And all I ever knew, only you. This is gonna take a long time, and I wonder what's mine. Can't take no more. Wonder if you'll understand. It's just the touch of your hand behind a closed door. All I needed was the love you gave. All I needed for another day. And all I ever knew, only you.
Morning. It's nice, isn't it? Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, 08459 455 555. Got an interesting story about heroin in a moment, but before that we were just talking about nurses. There are more and more nurses coming from abroad, particularly Spain at the moment. Spanish nurses are better trained than UK nurses. Well, that's according to Bucks Healthcare. Paul's in Leighton Buzzard. Morning, Paul.
Good morning, Ian.
What's your take on this?
Well, I mean, I'm not an expert. I know virtually nothing about nursing, but I'm just wondering, I'd like to pose the question, have we set the bar too high in terms of educational qualifications for attracting, you know, the right type of nurse? I mean, nursing years ago, and it's all about care and compassion. Years ago, you know, you used to get girls and going into the nursing profession without university qualifications, etc.
Yeah.
And I don't know, perhaps I'm right or wrong, but you didn't hear about all the problems one gets connected with, you know, lack of care and compassion in the hospitals that you seem to be getting today.
I think they have. I think they have introduced, or they're going to introduce, the fact that nurses have to get degrees, aren't they? That's if that's not happened already, that will happen soon. So that possibly is raising the bar a bit too high. But why do you think there is seemingly a lack of compassion from some elements within nursing? Not all of them, but certainly some of them.
Well, it's got to be down to the type of person they're attracting.
Yeah.
You know, sort of some are really their character and everything else leads them to that sort of care and compassion, which, you know, because you've got qualifications or you've been to university doesn't necessarily mean you've got those characteristics.
Is it that? Do you think that possibly they don't have the time for the care and the compassion because they are worked so hard, they have so many different things they have to do, that they haven't got time to be caring? Or is it a character the fault?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's the latter. I really do. I mean, one hears of so many cases where, you know, say, well, I'm not paid to do that, or I'm a nurse and I'm not, you know, that's my job. It's not to get you a pillow or to get you a blanket or to change the blankets, change the sheets. You know, one hears of, you know, endless stories of that. And
if the Spanish nurses are more compassionate, have you got a problem with them?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, as long as they can speak English, you know, that you can understand and communicate, no problem at all.
Let's be honest. Permission to speak frankly and freely. And I don't want to come across like an edition of the Daily Mail, but
no.
I have come across there was a doctor where we used to live, and I struggled to understand what he was saying. He had a very thick Indian accent, and I have come across nurses. Now, most of the nurses I've dealt with have been great, but I have come across nurses where they have such a very strong African accent.
Yeah.
I have trouble to understand, and I kind of have to go, sorry, could you say that again? Now, listen, I'm a comparatively young man with all my senses working overtime.
Yeah.
I think what my mum would be like in that situation, who's not particularly hard of hearing, she would really, really struggle to understand what was being said there.
Ian, I had a situation only a couple of years ago. My daughter was, I won't go into, but very, very ill. But she went to a local practice and she just could not, and my daughter is 36, just could not understand what the doctor was saying. So I had to, because she's, you know, not very forceful in that sort of thing. So I had to insist on her seeing a doctor that, you know, that she could understand. So that's why I'm saying the proviso. I've got nothing against nurses coming from abroad at all. I would much rather see British nurses, as I say, and that's why I'm saying, have we set the bar too high in terms of their qualifications? But as long as they can communicate effectively, then I've got no problem with that at all.
Paul, thank you very much indeed. It's Paul in Leighton Buzzard, 08459 455 555. It's very rarely I'm bothered by accents and understanding people. You know, you should get on with everyone. But when you're in a medical situation and instructions and communication can be key to not only making you comfortable but saving your life, then you kind of do need to be able to understand them, don't you? 08459 455 555. Now, police are warning heroin addicts in Hertfordshire and Buckinghamshire their next hit could be their last. A particularly potent patch of the drug killed one person in Milton Keynes in October, while earlier this month a 37-year-old man was found dead at his flat in Watford. Several other people have been lucky to survive after overdosing. Well, Justin Dealey has been speaking to Detective Inspector Marcus Bromley from Herts Police.
The cause of death has yet to be determined. A forensic post-mortem has taken place, the results of which I'm awaiting. However, the information I currently have from the ongoing investigation suggests that the cause of death is likely to have been a drug overdose, the drug in question being high-purity heroin.
Is that something you've come across before? You've been here for quite a long time. Heroin of a higher purity, is that quite rare in Watford?
Yeah, it's not something I personally have experienced, but obviously following this death I do have concerns that in Watford locally heroin is currently circulating, which is of a higher purity than usual.
Clearly very, very concerning. So how would this affect somebody? What would be the difference between, let's say, normal heroin compared to the heroin we're talking about today?
Well, in respect of someone who might not be a regular user of heroin, it could obviously pose significant risks to their health and well-being because of the higher purity level.
And have you got a dedicated drug squad here working at Watford?
I have a team of detectives, and I have a number of detectives at this current time who are investigating this death so that we can ascertain the cause, and if, as suspected, it is linked to a higher purity of heroin, trying to trace where that heroin has come from and arresting persons responsible for its supply. I would point out, though, that at this time there are 3 persons that have been arrested and they are currently on bail whilst we continue this investigation.
Do you want the public to come forward if they have any information, however small they think that may be? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, they contact Crime Stoppers or they can contact their local police on 101. But yeah, it is important that we remind members of the public of the serious and sometimes fatal risks of taking illegal drugs. If anyone becomes unwell having taken drugs, please ensure you seek medical assistance immediately. Drugs have no place in our communities, and I would like to appeal to anyone who has any information about drug dealing, particularly in relation to possible heroin of high purity, to contact police.
What about yourself? Just lastly, obviously you're working to try and catch the criminals, but people that have become addicted to drugs, heroin in particular, have you got any sympathy for those people?
I do have empathy for them. Drugs of any illegal drugs of any kind does nothing but cause misery, upset and harm.
08459 455 555. What are you thinking there? Do you think that these young heroin users, or old heroin users, whatever age they are, deserve this? Or are you a bit like me? I feel very sorry for these heroin users who are falling prey to this particularly strong strand of heroin. People are dying or becoming seriously ill because of it. Now, I know what you're saying. Oh, well, lifestyle choice. They shouldn't be using heroin. But for some people, it isn't a lifestyle choice, is it? For some people, it is an addiction. It's a recognised disease by the WHO. No, not the rock group, the World Health Organisation. So should we be having sympathy for drug addicts that are putting their lives potentially at risk because of this particularly strong, pure strain of heroin? 08459 455 555. This is BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Alice.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Still no major problems being shown up on the speed sensors so far this morning. In St Albans, Hatfield Road has roadworks at Woodstock Road, and the M25 is looking fine through the roadworks between 23 for South Mimms and 25 for Enfield. That's in both directions where there's a narrowing of the lanes and the speed is restricted to 50. Slightly further afield, the QE2 bridge lanes have now been opened going clockwise on the M25. Public transport, no reported problems. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 6:30. I'm Jane Killick. Bedford Hospital has taken on 44 Spanish nurses because it can't find enough staff locally. The Royal College of Nurses says Bedford is not unique in having to recruit staff from overseas. The government is facing a backbench rebellion over plans to reorganise the army. Ministers say any attempt to delay proposals to expand the army reserve to offset the loss of regular troops will damage Britain's military capability. A woman from Milton Keynes is celebrating after having a libel case against her dropped. Leslie Kemp complained publicly on Twitter that her employer had delayed paying her. The weather, sunny spells this morning, showers this afternoon, some of the wintry over the Chilterns with a high of 6 Celsius. On to sport, and in last night's football, Wycombe Wanderers are through to the second round of the FA Cup. The Chairboys beat Crewe 2-0 in their away replay and will now face Preston at home in the next round. Stephen Craig and Gary Doherty scored the goals. Wycombe boss Gareth Ainsworth was delighted with the win.
It was a great performance tonight. I thought over the last 2 days we prepared right. We employed the right tactics. The boys were committed in their energy levels and performance. You can't put things on, and shapes don't mean anything unless you run. You're willing to run and you're willing to back your teammates and win your headers and your tackles. That's exactly what the lads did.
Boreham Wood were knocked out of the FA Cup. Ian Allinson's side lost 2-1 in their first round replay at Carlisle. England lost 1-0 to Germany in their friendly international at Wembley. Arsenal's Per Mertesacker scored Germany's winner with a first half header. So a disappointing night for the England manager, Roy Hodgson.
The attitude, the work rate, the effort we put in, the togetherness of the team, the fact that we never gave up after the 1-0 goal, which put us on the back foot again, really pretty much against the run of play at that stage. They're positives, but of course the negatives were that we did lack some quality today. I thought that our passing, especially in the final part of the field, was nowhere near as good as the German passing.
Watford goalkeeper Jonathan Bond played the second half as England under-21s beat San Marino 9-0 last night in Shrewsbury. MK Dons lone striker Patrick Bamford played the last 25 minutes. And Luton Town striker Andre Gray was part of the England non-league C team, which drew 2-2 with the Czech Republic. BBC Three Counties Radio News and Sport. I'll be back with a full bulletin at 7.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
I've just seen in about 20 minutes' time we're supposed to be playing a One Direction song. Kelly, that is... How on earth did that sneak in there?
I don't know what's going on.
What is that? Get it out, put something good in.
Okay, yes.
Ooh, you stressed her more than I was expecting it to. We're all upset by that. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots you can call in about. Sympathy for drug users. Spanish nurses are better than British nurses. And if you want to talk to this lady...
Me.
Is that
not what you wanted?
Well, but...
Yay!
Who are you?
Catherine.
08459 455 555. What have you found in the papers?
Loads.
We'll do it after this. Ooh. Slow start, Cliff.
I like small speakers. I like tall speakers. If they music, they're wired for sound. Walking about with a head full of music, cassette in my pocket, and I'm gonna use it. Stereo out in the streets, Into the car, go to work, and I'm cruising. I never think that I'll blow all my fuses. Traffic flows into the breakfast show. Power from the needle to the plastic. AM, FM, I feel so ecstatic now. It's music I found, and I'm wired for sound. I was a small boy, don't like his toys. I could not wait to get wired for sound. I met a girl and she told me she loved me. I said, you love me, then love means you must like what I like. My music is dynamite. She said, I'm not a girl you put on at a standby. I am a girl who demands that I love this amplified. Switching to overdrive. Power from the needle
can't think of any more songs where the lyrics have dated quite as badly as Wired for Sound for Cliff Richard.
Well, he
AMFM.
boasted about his cassettes.
He's got a cassette in his pocket and he's going to use it.
Sounds like a threat.
Oh.
I quite like them.
Wall speakers. Oh! Well done,
Good
Cliff.
for you.
Most of all, I like loudspeakers.
He said really quietly.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Catherine Boyle is over there, having a little look at the newspapers. Oh, who's that?
Good morning, how are you, Ian?
Yeah, fine, who's that?
This is Stephen and Milton here.
Hello, Steve.
It is. Hiya, Stephen.
You want to go through the papers with us?
Yes, why not?
Have you got
Anything
your fingerless?
interesting?
Have you got your fingerless gloves on today? It's cold.
No, I don't use them.
Oh, you're rock hard.
Aye.
I can hear somebody else. Who else is there?
I'm here too.
Who's this?
It's Joe from Letchworth.
Joe in Letchworth.
Joe.
We might as well knock off early, Kath. They can do it themselves. Right, what have you found, Catherine? Just chip in whenever you want, fellas.
Okay, right, here we go. Daily Express, talking about how Princess Kate did a visit to a charity, but mostly about her hair. Inside, though, a bogus bride and her husband-to-be were jailed yesterday after a court heard how she gave the game away. How did she give the game away? Forgetting his name, not knowing what colour his toothbrush was. No.
Go on.
She flinched when he touched her knee in the registry office.
Oh.
We've all done that, haven't we?
Oh.
So my wife does it all the time.
Exactly, getcha.
Yeah, did you ever used to play a game, Stephen and Joe, a game called Nervous? Nervous. Did you play Nervous,
Yeah,
Catherine?
are you
do you
nervous?
want a game now?
No.
Well, basically, for those who don't know what it was, this was like a teenage game. You're 14, 15, 16, and you would play Nervous, where you would put your hand on someone's knee, and then you'd move it further and further up. You go, nervous? No. Nervous. Oh. Now, there's a 15...
Some of the girls in my year never got nervous.
No, they never got nervous. Boy, oh boy. But as a 15-year-old boy, I should have just sat there going, no, not nervous, no. But once it got halfway up my side, I go, yeah, I'm nervous, stop it! Stop it!
Oh.
Chance will be a fine thing now.
One.
You never played it?
Oh, I never played that at school. I missed out on so much.
Do you want a game of it now?
Catherine?
Stephen?
Yeah, I played it.
I'll take it as a no. Right.
We used to call it chicken, though.
Chicken?
Yeah.
Isn't that more like ending up banging into each other on bikes?
No, it's a different thing.
Oh, right.
Joe, you sound a little bit mardy today. What's your problem?
No, I'm just thinking of this time I met Catherine in the car park at BBC 3CR.
Well, we don't talk about what happened in the car park, Joe.
Hang on. Now, listen, this is interesting. You do get around, Catherine, and I mean that with respect. Because yesterday there was a chap, I think he was called Darren, posted on Facebook saying that you went to his 21st birthday party or something.
Don't remember that.
And now Joe is saying you met him in the car park. What happened, Joe?
Well, I was lucky enough to be invited into your studio and have a tour around, and it was fantastic. And I met Catherine because she was actually producing for someone else at the time.
Okay.
And basically, I got stuck in that gate in that car park, and I couldn't have the common sense to actually walk around the other side and go, oh yeah, that's how you do it.
There is a gate, dear listener, that you have to open with a fob sometimes. Doesn't always work. But if you can't open it with a fob, you just walk round and there's a massive opening just on the other side of the fence, which you could have done.
I'm an idiot because I didn't see that. So Catherine very kindly come and opened the gate for me.
Oh.
As she was walking back, it was quite a windy day.
Oh, yeah.
Now she remembers. She had a long, white, pleated Marilyn Monroe type of skirt. And guess what?
Go on.
The wind took it.
You didn't do that on Joe as well, did you? We've all had that. We've all had that nightmare, I'm afraid, Joe.
Rumbled again.
She tries to catch us out whenever she can. If you've not yet, Stephen, it will happen. Don't worry. Hey, fellas.
I feel let down.
Fellas, I've got some bad news. And for women shopping for Christmas presents, Tyrac didn't close down in 2008.
Wow.
It's still open, but it's closing down today.
Oh, where is it?
Well, everywhere.
Oh, no.
There are 44 surviving stores. I thought Tyrac closed genuinely in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still open, but there are 44 closing down. The consultant, James McGregor, says it's another example of a retailer that failed to move with the times. When was the last time anyone bought a tie?
From Tyrac?
Do they do it? They didn't do anything else either, did they? They weren't like...
Yeah, they did. They did hats and that. Should have called it that. Hats and that.
Hats and that. When did you last buy a tie, Stephen?
I don't know what a tie is. Explain to me.
Exactly. Joseph, when did you get one?
The last time I bought a tie, I won't mention the supermarket, but you buy them with a shirt. They come ready-made. They even colour match them for you as well.
What kind of shirts are you buying that come with a free tie?
Cheap ones.
Oh,
Hey, do you know what I found the other day in Cambridge? I was really surprised. It was like finding a time capsule. It was a sweater shop. You know, the sweater shop?
Oh, yes, I know sweater shops.
I thought that had gone with Dash.
I'm surprised that Claire's Accessories is still functioning.
Why?
Yeah,
People love a bit of blingy tat.
Knickerbox, I think, has probably gone. Has Past Times gone?
Oh, yeah.
That awful... What do they sell, like, sun clocks?
Retro knickknacks.
What do they call a sun clock? Sundial. They sold just stuff like that, like Viking stuff and medieval stuff.
Celtic brooches.
Oh, for goodness
Love a
sake.
Celtic brooch.
Oh, I hate...
All those shops seem to be shutting down now. I've seen them around Hitchin and Letchworth and Stevenage. A lot of them just would disappear.
Well, listen, we know we shouldn't be excited about the death of the high street, but I'm glad Past Times is gone. I really am.
Oh, I liked it.
I tell you what should make a comeback. Athena.
Oh, yeah.
Is it art? That was another one. Athena always had the picture of the naked man holding a baby.
Baby,
Couldn't do it these days.
And
Political correctness gone mad.
And the tennis woman with the itchy...
You're obsessed
health
today.
and safety is not to... This is something else that's gone.
Get on with the papers.
Exactly. Let's bring it back to today's matter in hand. A Morris dancing tradition dating back 156 years faces the axe from Jobsworth health and safety bosses, so says the Day Express, page 27. Blacked up members of the Britannia coconut dancers. Wonder what the problem might be. In turbans, red and white kilts and clogs perform 12 hours of routines. 12 hours of that.
Yeah.
At 20 pubs in Bacup, Lancashire, every Easter Sunday. But council inspectors who tried previously to close down the troop staged a covert operation. Why would you need to be covert? I think they're quite obvious. To watch for health and safety law violations.
Well, I'm reading this story in the Mail, OK, and it says covert, but then it says, we told them in advance our management people will be there to observe. Our guys were there in high-visibility jackets with council logos.
It's like stakeout.
And there's a picture of them. There's a picture of the gentleman blacked up like there's no tomorrow.
I'm going to be quiet on this one because I'm a health and safety advisor.
Oh.
Not Joe.
Would you stop people blacking up for health? Well, it probably would be health and safety because they'd probably get a good kicking.
I just think that there are some people, probably within council departments, that just blow health and safety way out of proportion. It's common sense.
Do you want to be
That's it.
outraged?
Yeah, I do.
Do you feel like a bit of outrage?
Yeah,
You've got
go
a
on.
minute left.
A minute to outrage me.
The feel-good 1946 Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life.
Here we go. Go on, I know where this is going.
Is to get an unlikely sequel more than 60 years on, it's been revealed. It's a Wonderful Life. The rest of the story is being billed as a continuation of the story of downcast bank manager George Bailey, played memorably by James Stewart, or at least that of his descendants. Stop this now!
That is wrong. We need to start a petition.
Is James Stewart going to be in it?
I think so.
Why? Is he?
I think so.
Is he really? I suppose he probably is. When did James Stewart die? No one told me. Stephen, did anyone tell you?
No one told me, no. Okay, well, he's still alive when I watch him on the film.
Exactly. I don't think I've ever seen It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, my goodness, I've got it. I'll lend it to you. It's beautiful.
Iain.
Yes.
You know you're a massive football fan like I am.
Oh, I love a bit of soccer.
Yes. I've discovered why the England people keep losing.
Go on.
It's the manager. He talks to them and he puts them to sleep. I've never heard someone so boring in my life.
We did hear a little burst of Roy Hodgkinson. Is that his name?
Oh,
Hodgson.
Yeah,
Roy Hodgson
I think
talking.
that could be his name. I think it is.
He's doing a voice.
He's very... We had a little bit of him in the news with Jane, and we'll probably hear some more at 7. He's very, very dull, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's all right. I tell you what we'll do. Stephen, Joe, thank you very much indeed. Let's try and find this morning. We're going to find the person with the dullest voice. Let's try and find who has got the dullest voice. It could be a listener. It could be somebody famous.
Do you think they'll know?
If anybody suggests me, boy oh boy, there'll be trouble. Let's send Dealey out if we can. I know he's busy this morning to find to find people and see if they can find a dull voice for us this morning. 08459. Thank you very much, Stephen and Joe. Excellent to have you taking part. If you want to take part tomorrow, you can do. Just give us a call. But can we find the person with the dullest voice? So far, we've got Roy Hodgkinson, the England football manager. Is anybody got a duller voice than that? 08459 455 555. Completely unconnected. Here's the travel news now with Alice.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thanks, Iain. And the M1 London bound is building up already between junction 9 for Redbourne and 7 for Hemel Hempstead. M40 looking fine on the sensors and the cameras through the roadworks, which are in both directions around junction 7 for Tame. That's where there's a narrowing of the lanes and the speed restriction to 50. But the speed sensors are showing that the M40 is already slow from the Denham roundabout and the A40 leading up to the M25. Public transport has no reported problems. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Alice. Jules Holland, he's got a dull voice. Very dull. He tries to overcome it, but he can't. It's dull. 08459 455 555. Dull voices, please. Right, 6:46, it's Wednesday the 20th of November. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. 44 Spanish nurses are to be employed at Bedford Hospital because of a lack of local staff. A woman from Milton Keynes who took to Twitter to complain about her employer has had the libel case against her dropped. In football, Wycombe Wanderers are in the second round of the FA Cup after a 2-0 win over Crewe. Coming up, we will hear about the tweet a woman calls the biggest regret of her life. We'll also be talking dull voices, but before that, let's get the weather. Here's Sarah Thornton.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thanks very much indeed, Ian. We have a spell of rain heading towards us, and I say rain, but actually over the Chilterns we could see something a little bit more wintry than that. We've had some very, very cold temperatures through the night, with certainly sub-zero in many spots. Actually, just out towards parts of Oxfordshire, just so you know, it was -6 there, but typically it's been around -3. So some scraping to be done on the cards first thing this morning. But the temperatures are rising now that we've got the cloud moving towards us, and that cloud, as I say, is going to bring us a spell of rain. So that's coming in for most of this morning's rush hour, clearing off towards the south and the east all the time. That wintry flavour then over the higher ground. It pulls away, and with it, it takes the clouds. So we'll have some sunshine to end the day. It won't help the feeling of the weather. When that rain comes through, it will be windy as well as wet. And actually, the winds will still be a key feature of the weather this afternoon. Top temperature of 7 Celsius then, 45 in Fahrenheit. And some following showers to come on this evening across the three counties. Those showers again could be wintry in nature. Nothing that we're expecting to settle, just to let you know that you could see a little bit of sleet if you are at higher levels. And temperatures overnight typically around 1 or 2 Celsius, but we'll continue with the threat of showers for some of the day tomorrow, but also some drier, brighter interludes tomorrow. The winds easing and a top temperature of 8 degrees. So tomorrow, a much better day. This morning, though, Ian, a spell of heavy rain to come.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. I do love a good bit of rain, me.
Here at BBC Three Counties Radio, we want to show off everything that's amazing about where we live.
And to do that, we need your help.
We'd like you to send your pictures of your favourite places from the three counties.
Places like Dunstable Downs,
Amptill Park,
Ivinghoe Beacon,
MK's Concrete Cows,
Nebworth House,
Waddesdon Manor.
We'll then use them on our Facebook page to show everyone exactly what this area has to offer.
Send your pictures to 3cr@bbc.co.uk
and then visit facebook.com/BBC3CR
to see everyone's favourite parts of Beds, Hearts and Bucks.
Phil's called in about the dull voice. Andy Murray. I'm Andy Murray and I've won the tennis and my mother's very pushy and my girlfriend's much better looking than I deserve. Yes, he has got a dull voice. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number, and we're talking about Spanish nurses. They're better than British nurses. Oh, they're better than British nurses. Well, Gary Henderson says, don't bother me, I love the Spanish people. And Jones says, it's been that way for a long time. When I was young, it was mostly Filipinos, and in St Albans area, a lot of Italian, Portuguese, Irish, Sri Lankan nurses who worked in the mental care hospitals. 08459 455 555.
I secret it must stay. And you don't know how hard to bear is this one-way love affair. For it breaks my heart to be in love when you don't know.
Fantastic. That was the replacement for One Direction. Oh, well done, Kelly Betts. Well done. Bit of Helen Shapiro. Of course, the Beatles were her opening act. 62, I think. Not totally sure. 08459 455 555. Bill's in Hemel. He's called in just to show off. Morning, Bill.
Hello, good morning, Ian.
Bill, what do you want to show off about?
I've done my last bit of shopping yesterday.
Whatever?
Forever, yeah, I've done it all. Everything is done, it's wrapped up, it's all labelled.
Christmas! I thought you meant you were never going to go shopping again. You finished your last Christmas present shopping yesterday and you've wrapped it as well?
And it's wrapped up, it's labelled, it's put in a sack, it's all ready to be given to all my family.
Wow, what was the last present you bought? Can you tell us?
It was a little baby's rumpus suit for my grandson.
Oh, how old's your grandson, Bill?
He's one. He was one on the 23rd of March.
Oh, fantastic. Well, there you go. So, hang on. So he's nearly 2 then?
No, he's only 1.
Well, he's 18 months. You'd still do months. At what age do you stop doing months?
Sorry?
Yeah, I've only just started my Christmas shopping yesterday. As you were finishing yours, I bought my first present yesterday.
No.
Yeah, it's a good one. Do you want to know what it is?
Go on,
it's for my mum, right? So do not tell her I've bought her this, okay?
No, I won't tell her.
I was listening to Justin Dealey's show at the weekend. He does a show on Saturday mornings, 9 o'clock. He had Jerry Marsden on from Jerry and the Pacemakers.
Oh, brilliant.
Who is brilliant. And I was doing a little bit of Googling about Jerry Marsden. I thought I'll look him up. He's doing kind of like a storyteller show in small theatres, OK? So he goes along. I don't know if it's just him or if he's got a band, but he tells stories. He talks about how he met the Beatles and how he started Jerry and the Pacemakers, and then he plays a few songs. I bought tickets for me and my mum to go and see that in a small theatre.
Oh, brilliant one. Lovely one.
That'll be good, wouldn't it?
Oh, smashing.
So I guess for the next, where are we now? The next month and a bit, you're going to be sitting with your feet up, having a bit of Baileys.
I'm going to be laughing at everybody else going around like headless chickens and getting worried what they got to get and everything. Oh, I'm really going to laugh at them.
Good, Bill, good for you. Thank you very much indeed. Look, if you want to phone up and have a gloat this morning, then feel free to. You're more than welcome. 08459 455 555. Now, this week, it's Prisons Week, and Three Counties Radio is exploring the reality of life behind bars with a series of thoughts from those who have experience of prisons in the Three Counties. Today we hear from Roma. She is the mother of a murder victim.
My son Frank was killed, murdered, and obviously this was a traumatic event in my life. His wife and him had an argument, and Frank responded in a very negative way. He just went on a rampage in the town, drinking, probably took some drugs as well, and just went wild. And he got involved with some people that weren't advantageous to the situation. In the morning, I just went off to work as usual, and when I came home from work that night, the police were in my house, and then they informed me that someone had been murdered the night before, and they had come so that we could formally identify him at the mortuary. We went to the mortuary, and when I saw him lying there, he looked absolutely beautiful and at rest. And then we just went home, and I just sat in the chair, and I was just totally stunned. I just sat and sat and sat, and I just couldn't move. I don't know how I slept. I don't know if I slept really. And I got up in the morning, and I just did a whole pile of ironing, and I had ironing hanging up everywhere. I just ironed and ironed and ironed. And really, I was in a stunned condition at the time, but I didn't cry a lot. I just went on as though Frank, in a funny sort of way, was still there, and I had to be brave because the family needed me to be brave. I had a friend at church, and she did a lot of work in the prison. then they asked me to go into a prison to talk about Frank and how alcohol and how his life had affected the family. And while I was doing that, I felt that all these young men in front of me, they were there because of what had happened, but I wasn't there to incriminate them or to make them feel bad, because life is such a diverse business. And who was I to go around and bear these dreadful grudges about Frank? And it just softened my heart, and I just felt I needed to address this. Then this friend said, would you like to come regularly into prison? I knew in a funny sort of way that this is what Frank would have wanted. And I don't want to be bitter, and I wanted to go on with life, even though Frank wasn't alive. And as a result, I've come into prison and been able to relate to these men, and I've been able to relate my life experiences to them, because I know that I've experienced a lot of the problems that they've had: poverty, alcohol, drugs, even murder.
Hey, you think you've got it tough. That was Roma, the mother of a murder victim, and you can hear more from Prison Week throughout the week. 08459 455 555. This is BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the latest travel news now. Here's Alice.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
There are queues on the A40 eastbound between the Denham roundabout and Swakeleys roundabout. That's because 2 lanes are closed after a lorry fire, causing congestion on the M40 to junction 1A for the M25. The A1M southbound is slow through Stevenage between junctions 8 and 7. The M25 anti-clockwise is heavy between 21 for the M1 and 20 for Kings Langley. Also very slow between junction 17 for Maple Cross and 16 for the M40. M1 London bound building up between junction 9 for Redbourne and 7 for Hemel Hempstead. Public transport Greater Anglia have delays of up to 15 minutes between Hertford East and Liverpool Street. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alice, thank you very much indeed. This is Iain Lee. Lots to talk about in the next hour, including Spanish nurses are better than British nurses. Makes sense, doesn't it? They're keener, more efficient. Yeah, there might be a slight language problem. And who's got a more boring voice than Roy Hodgkinson's, the manager of the England football team?
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7 o'clock. I'm Jane Killick. The headlines. Spanish nurses recruited to Bedford Hospital. Twitter libel case dropped against a Milton Keynes woman. And children aren't as fit as they used to be.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Bedford Hospital has taken on 44 Spanish nurses because it can't find enough staff locally. West Herts hospitals are also offering positions to 84 nurses from Spain and Portugal, while North Herts Hospitals is currently looking in Portugal and Ireland. The Bedfordshire representative of the Royal College of Nursing, John Wilkinson, says not enough British people are training up.
There are a number of people entering nursing training now are fewer than they were in recent years. It's having an effect now, clearly, but it also has the potential for a knock-on effect in a few years' time when those students come through their course and are ready to take up qualified nursing posts at the end of their course.
The government is facing a rebellion by some Conservative MPs over plans to increase the number of reservists in the army to offset cuts in the regular forces. A Tory backbencher has put forward an amendment to the Defence Reform Bill aimed at delaying the proposal while its impact is assessed. 25 MPs have signed the amendment. A woman from Milton Keynes is celebrating after having a libel case against her dropped. Leslie Kemp complained publicly on Twitter that her employer had delayed paying her. Tony Fisher has more.
Following the Twitter post, Mr Kirby Kearns of Resolution Productions instigated libel proceedings against Ms Kemp this time last year. Ms Kemp, who transcribes recordings, had accepted a job from the Qatar-based firm but experienced delays in being paid. She was shocked about the libel action, which Mr Kearns says he dropped as he was unwilling to pay the security to cover her costs.
The Church of England's ruling body, the General Synod, is expected to take a significant step towards the creation of women bishops today. Legislation collapsed last November after traditionalists insisted on having exemptions from serving under women bishops. It now seems plans for an independent arbiter to rule on disputes has helped break the deadlock. Drug users in Hertfordshire are being warned about a strong batch of heroin. A 37-year-old man has died in Watford, and in October a patient at Milton Keynes Hospital also died after taking what is believed to be a particularly strong dose of heroin. Detective Inspector Marcus Bromley is from Herts Police.
Obviously, following this death, I do have concerns that in Watford locally, heroin is currently circulating, which is of a higher purity than usual.
A study into global fitness has found that many children today cannot run as fast as their parents did decades ago. According to the research, children are about a minute and a half slower over the course of a mile than their peers 30 years ago. In football, Wycombe Wanderers are through to the second round of the FA Cup. The Chairboys beat Crewe 2-0 in their away replay, but Boreham Wood was knocked out of the competition. The weather, any showers clearing to allow some sunny spells this morning, with further showers this afternoon and a high of 6 Celsius. Get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3counties.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks. All this week in Wolverton.
When you spend a bit of time here, that's when the really exciting stuff comes up.
You know, it's got a bit of an edge, and I like that. You can live somewhere very pretty and twee, but I like the edge.
Vibrant art scene, good pubs, a real place that feels historical and genuine.
The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks. All this week in Wolverton. BBC Three Counties Radio.
This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lots to talk about this morning. The phones have been going mental. If you want to come on the show, now would be an excellent time to call up as we have a couple of lines free. Half of our hospitals are topping up with foreign nurses. Well, according to one body, Spanish nurses are better than UK nurses. They've got a point, haven't they? Police are warning heroin addicts that there is an extra strong batch of the stuff doing the rounds. Have you got any sympathy for them? We're trying to find a voice more boring than Roy Hodgkinson, the football manager, the England man. We've got Andy Murray so far. Jules Holland is on the list. Who's got the dullest voice in the world? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send me a text 81333. Start your text 3CR. Or you can give me a call 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, here's something I'm sure you'll want to have a say about. Our local hospitals are having to recruit nurses abroad thanks to a desperate shortage of homegrown staff. According to the RCN, half of all the hospital trusts in the east of England are at it. Bedford hired 44 from Spain this month. West Herts has offered 84 out of a possible 196 jobs to staff from Spain and Portugal. And North Herts is currently recruiting in Portugal and Ireland. Bucks Healthcare says Spanish nurses are better trained than their UK counterparts. What do you think? 08459 455 555. Your nurse stories, good and bad, please. Joined now by Tony McGrath. He's a principal lecturer in the nursing department at the University of Bedfordshire. What's the problem, Tony? Why have we got a shortage of British nurses?
I think the main issue is the fact that planners have to sort of think years ahead about the nurses they need for the wards. So they look at when people are going to retire, they try and sort of anticipate problems, but sometimes they don't always get it right.
But there are fewer people becoming nurses, aren't there?
There are less people being trained than a few years ago, but that's down due to the planning, because we've anticipated we don't need as many nurses because some hospitals are closing.
But we've obviously anticipated that wrong, haven't we? Because we do need, if we're recruiting more nurses from abroad, that means we've underestimated.
That may be the case, but you know, it's not an exact science. You know, and people may move because of jobs. People may become pregnant. People may leave for a whole range of reasons, and planners can take those things into consideration. So, That's
Spanish nurses are better trained than their UK counterparts. That's according to Bucks Healthcare.
I can't. I haven't sort of taught in the Spanish system. I've been a patient of the Spanish system.
What were the nurses like there, Tony?
I thought the nurses were very, very good there, but the nurses that are here are just as good, and in some cases better.
Some of the nurses here are excellent. Of course, some of them are wonderful. Some of them are pretty ropey, aren't they? Considering they're in a caring profession, there seems to be a distinct lack of caring from some of them. How do we fix that?
Well, I firmly believe that we've missed the boat in relation to nursing care on the wards, in the sense that we've reduced the amount of qualified nurses on the wards throughout the UK, and I would like to see sort of safer starting levels on each ward, and that would help.
But why have we reduced the number of staff on the wards?
I would think that it comes down to finance, basically. Sort of staffing costs of the NHS is probably the most expensive part of
Tony, I'm not following your line slightly. We're cutting down the number of staff, yet, and there are less British nurses, but yet we're recruiting nurses from abroad. I don't understand the disparity here.
Well, the disparity is very simple. Students take 3 years to train, so people have to think well ahead as to what the demand will be in 3 to 5, 6 years' time.
Yeah.
So they put plans in place, and they look at how many nurses they may need. It looks at this time that they made a mistake, and we need more than we actually trained.
So they made a huge mistake. Tony, thank you very much indeed. That's Tony McGrath, Principal Lecturer in the Nursing Department at the University of Bedfordshire. What do you think? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Have you got a problem with foreign nurses? Let's be honest, shall we? There are some cracking British nurses, some wonderful British nurses. I met some of them yesterday who go above and beyond. There are a significant number of really ropey ones who couldn't give a stuff, it would seem. Their caring is completely lacking. 08459 455 555. I think it might be... I think it might be... sorry, I've just had an email from Iain. Iain, the guest who's just talking about nursing, you might as well have got me on and asked me questions about nursing. It's a little bit harsh there, I think, Iain, but yes, point taken. How do we make nurses caring again? What do we do? That seems to be the thing that's lacking. And have you got a problem with foreign nurses? Jade is on the line. Good morning, Jade.
Morning.
Jade, you wanted to be a nurse, did you?
Still do.
Why are you finding it so hard to get into it?
Well, I'm in a situation where I need to work, and I can't be in debt for a long period of time, and obviously go to uni, and get the degrees and the qualifications that I need, and be in debt. So that's the problem for me. Hence why I'm working right now.
So have they introduced that law where you need to have a degree to be a nurse? Has that happened?
I believe so, yeah.
I knew it was happening at some point. I wasn't quite sure if it had happened yet. And do you think that is what's making it so difficult then? Because you have to go and actually study for a degree that you didn't need before?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it just makes it harder and harder and harder. And like being a nurse is something I desperately want to be. It's just made it so much harder than what it was.
So then when you hear about local hospitals bringing in Spanish nurses and Portuguese nurses, how does that make you feel?
Well, everyone deserves a job, I understand that, but when someone who's obviously desperate to get into something, really wants to do it, has the opportunity to do it, but just can't, it makes you kind of angry. You know what I mean?
What changes would you like to see, Jade?
Oh, just make it more available. I mean, obviously we need more nurses. We need people, like you said, who care and will look after people. And, if someone is willing to do all this and isn't squeamish of blood or anything like this, just make it more available for us. Help us to do this.
Why do you want to be a nurse, Jade? Because it's badly paid and it's pretty grim.
Well, I think I'm quite a caring person. I mean, I genuinely want to help people. I want to see them through the bad times, look at them when they've gone through it all, and see how much they've improved, or even just be there for when it's their last moments. I want to help. definitely.
See, we need. Can we make this woman a nurse? We need people like Jay doing. Because honestly, I've met some cracking nurses who have your attitude. I have met some absolute stinkers who really, couldn't seem to care less. Now, whether that's that I got them on a bad day or what, I don't know. But to hear you talking like that, Jade, is very refreshing. Have you given up your plans to be a nurse? Is it completely out of reach for you?
No, I've actually decided to join the forces and train as a nurse that way. That way I'm not going to be in debt or anything like that. And then once I'm qualified, come back.
So you could train there and you could then go back into the NHS or into a hospital, could you?
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, make sure you check it out thoroughly before you do, in case you're stuck in the army for the next 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Jade, listen, I wish you the very best of luck. We need more nurses like Jade Bennett, I think. Please. 08459 455 555. So many different things off the back of this. Have you got a problem, first of all, with foreign nurses coming over here and doing the job? According to some people, the Spanish nurses are better than British nurses. Well, if they're better, then that's fine, isn't it? If they're better and you can understand them and they can understand you, then that's fine. Then let's not have the grumpy British nurses. Let's get the compassionate Spanish nurses, the better trained Spanish nurses. 08459 455 555. And what do we do to make nurses a bit more caring? Now, listen, I'm being very generalistic and speaking with broad strokes here. Okay, I know there are some excellent nurses. I've met them. I've been dealt with them. I met some of them yesterday. Wonderful. Okay, but let's be honest. We all know there are some ropey nurses. My wife, when she had our first son, 3 o'clock in the morning, she's in the ward, the baby's crying, she didn't have a clue what to do. Didn't have a clue what to do. No, the baby wasn't crying, he wasn't moving. Turns out he was asleep. She didn't know, she panicked. Okay? She pressed the buzzer at 3 o'clock in the morning. 10 minutes later, a woman comes round, a nurse puts her head around the curtain and says, yeah, don't press that buzzer at night time, wait till you see one of us walk past. Now that's no good, is it? That's no good. That attitude is the attitude I'm talking about that isn't particularly good. So how do we make British nurses more caring? 08459 455 555. Drake is on Facebook and he says, most of the staff who treated my partner when there were complications with the birth of my little girl were foreign. If it weren't for immigrants, neither may be here now. So yes, I'm happy with that. Although after the birth, there was a lovely midwife, an English lady, who was caring, showed empathy and supported my partner to establish a breastfeeding routine. So, if you have the right qualities, it doesn't matter where you're from. And I think that's it, isn't it? It's having the right qualities. And the qualities, of course, are your nurse medical training, compassion, and being able to speak and understand English. Those are the only three things I think you need, aren't they? I don't think you need anything else, really. That's it. And the compassion is something that is severely lacking from a lot of British nurses. 08459 455 555, facebook.com/BBC3CR, or you can send me a text, 81333, start your text 3CR. This is BBC Three Counties Radio. It's 7:15. Let's get the travel news now.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The A40 eastbound is now completely closed between the Denham roundabout and Swakeleys roundabout. There are queues back to the M40 junction 1A for the M25 because of a lorry fire earlier on. The M40 northbound is now heavier than usual as a result of those problems on the A40. A1M southbound looking slow on the speed sensors through Stevenage between 8 and 7. M25 anti-clockwise is heavy between 21 for the M1 and 20 for Kings Langley. Also very slow between 17 for Maple Cross and 16 for the M40. M1 London bound slow between 9 for Redbourne and 7 for Hemel Hempstead. And public transport Greater Anglia have delays of up to 15 minutes between Hertford East and Liverpool Street. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alice, thank you very much. Right, 7:16. It's Wednesday the 20th of November. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Bedford Hospital has turned to Spain to recruit nurses. Hertfordshire Police are warning about a strong batch of heroin which has already killed a man in Watford. In football, Wycombe Wanderers beat Crewe 2-0 last night. Wycombe Wanderers are called the Chairs? Really? What are they're called the Chairs?
They make chairs there.
What, at the football club?
No, at Wickham.
They make chairs in other places.
Yeah, but they make the finest English chairs in Wickham.
I bet they don't.
I bet they do.
But why are the football club called the chairs? I bet they make other things in Wickham.
They're called the Chair Boys.
Not the Choir Boys.
No.
The Chair Boys?
The Chair Boys.
That is the most rubbish nickname I've ever heard for a football club in my life. It's got me angry. Do you want to go to Wickham later on and sort it out?
When? No, busy.
I'm challenging Wickham to a fight. You in?
You're on your own.
Oh dear, what a coward. Coming up, police in Watford and Milton Keynes are warning about a potentially potent batch of heroin in circulation. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Every weekday from 12, Nick Coffer brings you...
Going from the Saint to Bond was rather like a diamond being put into a much more expensive, intricate setting.
I believe women have affairs because they seek love and affirmation. So, my marriage went wrong and I had an affair, but I would not have done that had I not been unhappy, I think.
I left school wanting to be a magician, but my mother wouldn't let me because my Auntie Maureen was in show business and she was a naughty lady.
Nick Coffer, weekdays from 12 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Listen, before we do the next story with Justin Daly, I've got to say a big thank you to you, Justin.
Why?
Very, very big thank you to you. Who was your guest on your show on Saturday?
That was Jerry Marston.
Ferry cross the Mersey, take my side, and when you walk through a storm, and literally those two hits alone. But I knew he was on your show, and so I spent a little time Googling him, and I found out he's doing, I don't know if it's a one-man show or if he's doing it with the Pacemakers, but he's doing a little tour of theatres where it's like a storytelling show. So he comes on, tells some jokes, tells some stories about meeting the Beatles and how Hamburg, all of that stuff, and then he plays a song, and then he tells a story about Ferry across the Mersey, how he came across. Then he plays Ferry across the Mersey. I booked that for me and my mum, Christmas present. Oh, so you have sorted out my Christmas present for my mum. Thank you, Justin.
You see, when you spoke to me, you said to me, Justin, how about we go together? Now you're taking your mum.
I did. Yes, no, you are correct, and I was hoping you'd forgotten that. I did say, how about you and me? All right, here's the deal. How about you take my mum?
Okay, if that's what you want. Is that really what you want? She might come back scarred from the experience.
Oh dear, what are you going to do to her? To be honest, Justin, I think you'd come back. I think you'd come back the scarred person out of the two of this. But so thank you very much for that. Excellent stuff.
Pleasure.
Now listen, we've got you on for something serious. We're talking about heroin this morning. Police in Watford and Milton Keynes are warning about a particularly potent batch of heroin in circulation. It's already killed 2 people and caused several near-fatal overdoses. Now I'm guessing that you're probably shrugging your shoulders at that. What's one less drug addict? But I've kind of got a lot of sympathy for these people. I do think if you're a drug addict, you're not doing it through choice. It's not a self-inflicted disease. It is a proper medical condition. Now, Justin, you've been out speaking to people in Watford about this, haven't you?
I was, Ian, and do you know what? I was surprised at how many people's lives have been affected by heroin. Here's what people in Watford had to say. Now, Dean, you haven't used heroin yourself, but you know other people that have used heroin here in Watford. Just how bad is the problem here?
I should imagine it's countrywide, where it doesn't just happen in Watford. Any city centre or even rural nowadays, I think it affects quite a few people.
And just tell us, the people that you know that have taken this drug, just tell us the change that you saw in those people.
A great change in their lifestyle. It's more of a single-track mind approach to life. The main concern is their drug of choice. With all addictions, because it's surprising. It affects everyone. You don't have to be rich or poor. It can affect everyone, and it does affect everyone from every walk of life.
Danny, can you talk to me about your brother? Because your brother was a heroin addict. Tell us how it started and how it affected your family.
Well, my brother was older than me, 5 years older than me, but even as a young man, I thought I knew about his drug problem. It affected the whole family. Every time he was ODing, my mum had to go up to London and get him out of hospital. It upset the family, and he continued to take drugs all his life. His wife divorced him, he lost his children, and he died a very lonely man. And I come from a very big family, but he died on his own, very lonely, and everyone was very sad about it.
So was it the heroin that actually killed him?
No, they said he had a cancer growth on his neck, but because he'd left it untreated and he wasn't a well man and he was not a very fit man at all, far from it. I believe if he hadn't have been abusing heroin and other drugs throughout his life, he would have been able to fight that.
I mean, just how upsetting was it for you? I can't imagine anybody in my family being a heroin addict. You're seeing that day in, day out. How did that affect you, and how upsetting was that for you?
Well, it's upsetting because you're thinking, what a waste of a life, because you know the man's a lot more intelligent than that. And when someone says to you, here's a bottle of poison, take that every day, you wouldn't take it. But when it's social, there's a lot of issues here. It breaks your heart when you see someone you love, turn into a terrible person that you can't trust.
And we're talking today about heroin, which is circulating in the streets in Watford, of a higher purity. You must have every sympathy for people that are addicted to drugs, a bit like your brother was.
I have every sympathy with any drug user. I used to be a drug user myself, and I think it's awful the way it's so readily available now and cheap and so addictive with the purity stuff that's coming in now. I see people, kids, no more than children now, addicted to this stuff.
Well, Justin, that was a cracking piece of audio. I think we might play that again in about an hour's time. That was incredible.
I think so, Ian. I think, as I mentioned to you before the piece, that I was genuinely surprised at how many people, again, had stories to tell about this. These stories are not just one-off stories, and me personally, I do have sympathy for anybody who's addicted to drugs. I know that I'm addicted to nicotine. I know that I can't break that habit. So if I was addicted to heroin, how on earth do you break that? I've got every sympathy for these people.
Justin, thank you very much indeed. We will play that a bit later on. Both Justin and the last gentleman speaking there said something very interesting. Let's put this out there. The gentleman said, I have sympathy for any drug user. Have you got sympathy for any drug user? 08459 455 555. What do you think? You agree with that chap who was speaking there? Very cold and painful story. Have you got sympathy for drug users? Or do you think, come on, mate, jog on, self-inflicted, get a life? 08459 455 555. We can speak now to Nick Conn, who is a former addict and runs the Hertfordshire-based organisation helpforaddiction.co.uk. Morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Police have issued a warning about this particularly pure strand of heroin. That's an unusual measure for the police to take, isn't it?
I believe so, but it's quite, there's this. They're equally as dangerous as each other. I mean, when we deal with the front line, so we get all those crisis phone calls. And I mean, alcohol is probably one of the biggest, but it takes a drug like that to circumstances to happen, and then the police become aware of it.
We were asking this morning if people have sympathy for drug users, and you say you get a lot of phone calls from people who are, I guess, if not at rock bottom, certainly hurtling towards it. What kind of stories do you hear, Nick?
I mean, I've picked up someone who, when I arrived, he was trying to hang himself. I see wives leaving their husbands. I've heard people gone into shooting galleries and left their kids in the car or taken them in with them. Shooting galleries where they go to inject heroin. I've probably heard absolutely every story there is, and I wear two hats because, I'm looking at it from a police point of view because I'm an ex-police officer, but also a recovered drug addict. So,
were you an addict, Nick, if you don't mind me asking, whilst you were serving as a police officer?
I actually took my first line of cocaine when I passed my medical, the drugs test for the police. And that's when I first took it.
And what was your thinking? Because there will be people listening to this who don't understand addiction, don't realise it's a disease. What was your thinking when you did that? You just passed your drugs medical, you had just become a copper, and then you potentially screwed it all up by doing cocaine.
Do you know, it's I talk about it. I've just released a book, and I talk about it all in there. And I was never academically clever, so I always struggled, and certainly in the police it was challenging, the 18 weeks whilst you're training and you live there. And I got introduced to it, and then anyway, I was falling asleep. You have to pass your test every week, over 80%. And I was struggling with it, and I took cocaine, and all of a sudden, I was getting 96, 97% in my tests. I was more alert, but then some major consequences followed because of it.
And I'm guessing the consequences being you lost your job and got in serious trouble.
Yeah, I ended up homeless. I ended up involved with Albanian mafia in Berlin, drug running. So it took me to to a horrible, horrible place.
And this is the thing that I think a lot of people listening to this won't understand, that drug addiction knows no class or social boundaries at all, does it? It can affect, a fella living on the street, it can affect a High Court judge, it can affect a copper.
Absolutely. There's they've now found a gene on a part of the brain called chromosome 11, which makes things 3 times more addictive for people like me than it does for perhaps people that don't suffer with addiction. So when we put a chemical in us and, we feel low within ourselves, might have insecurities, confidence issues. So when we put a drug in us that makes us feel like the person we want to be, mix that with the gene, we're in trouble.
What kind of help and advice can your association give, Nick?
I think each case is independent, and we try to keep it like that. We're aware that everyone is different and everyone requires different treatment. We have connections with every private and NHS organisation in the country, so I suggest drop me a call and I'll be happy to do an assessment and get you directed in the right way.
And if people want to get in touch with you, Nick, how can they?
It's www.help and then the number 4 addiction.co.uk.
And listen, your book sounds cracking. I'm on Amazon at the moment. What's it called?
It's called The Thin White Line by Nicholas Conn.
Right. I'm having a little look for that now. Nick, nice to talk to you.
Enjoy.
Yeah, thank you very much, and keep up the good work. That's Nick Conn there, who what an incredible story. I've spoken to him all morning. He runs the Hertfordshire-based organisation helpforaddiction.co.uk. So you've heard his story, you've heard some of the people that Justin spoke to. Have you got sympathy for drug users? Surely as a compassionate, humane, loving society, that's what we are mostly. I like to think that most of us are good people, aren't we? We can only have compassion and sympathy, if not empathy, for people who are addicted to drugs, can't we? It's a disease. You wouldn't be, you wouldn't look at someone with, let's say, you wouldn't look at someone with cancer with scorn and disgust, would you? But would you do the same to someone who's a drug addict? 08459 455 555 is the phone number. You can send me a text 81333. Start your text 3CR. This is BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel news.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The A40 eastbound is closed between the Denham roundabout and Swakeleys roundabout because of a lorry fire. Queues back to the M40 junction 2 for Beaconsfield now. The A41 southbound's also having an effect there, which is slow between the Hemel Hempstead turnoff and the M25 junction 20 for Kings Langley. M40 northbound heavier than usual as a result of these problems on the A40, and the M25 clockwise is queuing on the exit slip road for junction 16 for the M40. Very slow also clockwise between junction 18 for Chorleywood and 25 for Watford. Anti-clockwise on the N25, heavy between 21 for the M1 and 20 for Kings Langley. Also between 18 for Chorleywood and 16 for the M40. Public transport, Greater Anglia have delays of up to 15 minutes between Hertford East and Liverpool Street. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Oh, I've just found Nicholas's book, Nick Conn's book, The Thin White Line, on Amazon. It's only available on Kindle. I've not got a Kindle. Bring it out on proper paperback. I'll have a look at that, please. Right, it's 7:30. Let's get the latest news and sports now. Here's Jane.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7:30, I'm Jane Killick. Bedford Hospital has taken on 44 Spanish nurses because it can't find enough staff locally. The Royal College of Nursing says Bedford is not unique in having to recruit staff from overseas. Northern Ireland's Attorney General has called for an end to prosecutions linked to events that took place during the Troubles. A woman from Milton Keynes is celebrating after having a libel case against her dropped. Leslie Kemp complained publicly on Twitter that her employer had delayed paying her. And the weather, sunny spells this morning, showers this afternoon, some of them wintry over the Chilterns with a high of 6 Celsius. In last night's football, Wycombe Wanderers are through to the second round of the FA Cup. The Chair Boys beat Crewe 2-0 in their away replay last night and will now face Preston at home in the next round. Stephen Craig and Gary Docherty scored the goals. Wycombe boss Gareth Ainsworth was delighted with the win.
Don't want to single any players out. All 18 that made the trip were fantastic. Some of the best fans were on the bench. You know, the Morgans, the Johnsons, the Kretschmars. They were right behind the team, and it's great to have. It's great to have. It's a great feeling, a great place to be at the moment, and clean sheet, back to winning ways. Hopefully, we can take it into Saturday against Chesterfield.
But Boreham Wood were knocked out of the FA Cup. Ian Allinson's side lost 2-1 in their first round replay at Carlisle. England lost 1-0 to Germany in their friendly international at Wembley. Arsenal's Per Mertesacker scored Germany's winner with a first-half header. The England manager, Roy Hodgson, says the performance of Adam Lallana in the match and along with his display against Chile has made him a serious contender to go to the World Cup.
I'm very happy with his two performances. I thought that once again today he showed that he's comfortable at this level of football on this stage, and the level of technique and the quality of his play is the type of quality we're looking for.
And Watford goalkeeper Jonathan Bond played the second half as England under-21s beat San Marino 9-0 last night in Shrewsbury. MK Dons lone striker Patrick Bamford played the last 25 minutes, while Luton Town striker Andre Gray was part of the England non-League C team, which drew 2-2 with the Czech Republic. BBC Three Counties News and Sport. I'll be back with the full bulletin at 8.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning. Well, lots to talk about this morning. Let's mention some of them very briefly. We've been talking about Spanish nurses are better than UK nurses. Drug addiction. Have you got any sympathy for drug addicts? You wouldn't treat someone who had cancer, shall we say, with contempt and disgust. So why do we feel it's appropriate to do it to people who have drug problems? And also, we're trying to find the most boring voice in the world. Someone got in touch and said, Roy Hodgson. Is that his name, Roy Hodgson?
Yes, that's his name.
Roy Hodgson, the football manager. He's got a very dull voice. You know, the only thing that makes it vaguely interesting is the speech impediment.
Yes, well, Stephen the Milkman said that that's the reason England are failing, because he's so dull.
Good morning, Ian. How about Ian Duncan Smith for a person with a really boring voice, says Fred. Terry Wogan, get a new Children in Need presenter, says Beverly.
How dare you?
No, that's blasphemy here. We will not allow any of that. Another Irish person from Annie and Hearts, Daniel O'Donnell.
Yeah.
I've never heard him speak.
He very softly spoken, sort of talks like that.
He talks like my old next-door neighbour?
Yeah, a little bit.
OK. And Andy Murray, yes, Nick, you're right, boring voices. The man just drones on. Well, he says drools on and on and on. I think he means drones. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. We're talking about nurses. Spanish nurses are better than British nurses. That's according to one body. That's why so many Spanish nurses are being recruited. What do you think? Is that a bit harsh or a little bit fair? We've got where was that email I just saw about Spanish nurses? I saw an email, I seem to have lost it, about someone who was put on an IV drip. One nurse was brilliant and one nurse wasn't so brilliant. I can't find it. We'll find that in a second. Let's talk to Caroline in Hearts. Morning, Caroline.
Morning.
What would you like to say?
I've been nursing 40 years, and I think you get nurses regardless of their nationality. Being at bed is not...
Caroline, listen, it's not the greatest of lines. I'm going to hand you back to the team because we can't hear you very well. Can we try and sort Caroline out on a slightly better line? Because I wanted to hear her point. This was the email I was talking about. It was a text from Helen in Milton Keynes. Thank you. Nurses generally do a brilliant job, regardless of nationality, which is the point that Caroline was making there. We'll speak to you later on, hopefully. Last time I was an inpatient, 2 British nurses, both on nights. One was everything you would want, immaculate uniform, kind and empathetic. The other was at the bottom of the worst. She'd been told to provide me with an IV drip to manage the extreme pain I had. 2 days later, it hadn't been done until the other nurse came back on duty. And I think that's the point. You do get good and bad nurses everywhere. From everywhere, don't you? 08459 455 555. I'm slightly distracted because the excellent Nick Coffer, who does the show here from midday, has just sent me Nick Con's book in word form, in paper form, old-fashioned paper. Nick, thank you very much indeed. We'll have some of that. Stuart's in Northampton on the subject of nurses. Good morning, Stuart.
Good morning.
Spanish nurses coming over and doing the job. It's got to be a good thing, hasn't it?
Well, it is a good thing, it isn't a good thing. But all I want to point out is that most of these nurses come from agencies. They're not really employed by the NHS.
Right. And and your point is?
Well, what I'm saying is it's cheaper for agencies to employ nurses from abroad than it is from England, so they're going to go for the cheaper option because it's business.
We spoke to a gentleman earlier on who lectures nurses, and he said they all plan years in advance, and they just underestimated the number of nurses that they need. So you're saying it's all down to saving money, is it?
Well, I think so, yes, because the NHS has got to save money, and that's the best option, isn't it? I mean, how many years have they been underestimating these nurses?
Well, this is the thing. I don't quite know. I didn't quite follow his point either. Have you ever been in hospital, Stuart? Have you come across good nurses and bad nurses?
No, I'm very lucky. I'm in good health.
Yeah, well, let's hope it stays that way, Stuart. Thank you very much indeed. And I don't mean to be harsh, but let's be honest, some British nurses are rubbish. Some African nurses are rubbish. Some continental nurses are rubbish. And if you've been in hospital, the chances are you've probably had a nurse at some point who's not been very good. How do we make nurses more caring? Because some of them are brilliant. You're all right. Do you want a drink? Can I help you with your food? Some of them are just absolutely awful. It feels like they couldn't give a stuff. Yes, they're overworked. Yes, they're probably underpaid. Yes, perhaps they're not given the respect by various people that they ought to be given. But you'd get more respect, wouldn't you, if you were caring, if you did go that little bit further to make patients' lives easier and more comfortable. Give me a call this morning. I want your good nurse stories and I want your bad nurse stories. I want this to be as balanced as we can be. OK, and we'll take the calls as they come. 08459 455 555. Dennis is in Dunstable. Morning, Dennis.
Good morning.
You're having a wash?
I was having ablutions.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Really?
Well, we talk like that in Manchester, you see.
Yeah, dead posh.
Not like you ignorant lot down here.
Hey, steady. We can send you back at a moment's notice.
I know. Now then.
We're building a super-fast train to get rid of your sorts.
I'm getting very worried about you.
Go on.
You're getting too much like me. You're not contentious anymore.
Oh.
You're being too nice to people.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that will never do.
You're seeing both sides of the story without jumping on the wrong one.
Ah, OK, right. So, give me an example of where I've done that this morning.
Well, you've been so nice to everybody. You're leaning over backwards to be nice.
OK.
And you should be contentious.
OK, how do I fix it? Because I don't want to be nice. That's not what I'm here for. How do I change this, Dennis? What can I do?
Revert back to you were about a fortnight ago.
OK, give me an example of you be me, Dennis, and I'll be boring old dull Dennis phoning up every flipping morning, dragging the show down to a slow pace.
Hang on a minute, I did not ring up yesterday because you were being too nice then.
OK, right, so you be me,
yes,
I'll be you, and let's happen. So you take my call, away you go.
Why? Why should I? I'm not doing your job.
No, Dennis. For goodness sake.
Listen, you're paid a lot of money to do that job you're doing, so for goodness sake, do it properly.
Well, but as far as I'm aware, Dennis, I am doing it properly, but you phoned up to criticise, so let's try and role-play this and make it better.
No, I don't want to be nasty to people. I like people.
No, you don't. You're a miserable northerner.
No, that's wrong. I might be a northerner, but I'll tell you that you ask any of my friends, I'm very nice to people.
OK, what we need is... Kelly Betts is doing something. As soon as... I know Kelly Betts does a killer impression of me.
She's lovely.
For goodness sake, stop it. Now, when she's finished taking this phone call, we're going to get her on the air, OK? She's going to do an impression of me. I'm going to be boring old Dennis.
Thank you.
And we'll see how this goes. OK?
Yes.
Right, Kelly, Kelly, I want you to be me. Dennis has phoned up.
Oh, hi.
He said, just get nice and close to the microphone. For some reason, your microphone's very quiet. He has said that I'm being too nice to people.
OK.
So what I want you to do is I want you to be me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be Dennis.
OK.
And you be nasty.
Nasty you?
Is that what you want, Dennis?
Yes, I'd be lovely. If Kelly's nasty to you, I will laugh away to the bank.
OK, right. So I don't know. I don't get it either. So go on, you be me taking Dennis my...
Oh, for flip's sake! Oh. Why aren't these callers any better? Why are we always got Dennis?
Not off air me, on air me. Do the on air me. Don't. That's private. That's.
But I thought that was the same.
No, that was too much, wasn't it, Dennis?
Dennis, how can I be Iain? What is it about him that I could do to sound like him?
I haven't the slightest idea.
It's your idea!
He swallows a lot. And he sort of goes a lot, doesn't he?
I know.
Oh, don't. Catherine, yes,
I know how you do, Iain.
What?
You go... Dennis, if you call me again, you have to do a big breath and then launch and then not breathe until the end.
And then swallow right at the end.
Yeah.
I'm not breathy and swallowy.
The thing is, Dennis, I'm fed up of hearing from you, so if you could stop calling me, you're an idiot. You call people idiots as well.
OK, well, what she said, Dennis, is...
That's exactly right. That's exactly the sort of person you ought to be.
OK, well, that's what she said. I'm not breathy and swallowy.
You are breathy and swallowy.
I've probably got asthma.
I think you have. Where's that inhaler I gave you?
Oh, it's in the bin.
Great.
Right, but I'm not like that, Dennis. But what Catherine said... stop doing that, please, Kelly. That is... No, what she said, Dennis, holds true.
Yes.
So, jog on.
Jog on what?
This.
Right. Originally, I was ringing you about the nurses.
No.
Because you were being so nice to them.
No, I'm just... Oh, for goodness sake. Right,
That's
Catherine...
that breathy bit that I was telling you
I'm
about.
not doing a breathy bit. I'm not doing that. Now, Dennis, I didn't do it. Catherine, tell him to go away again, as me.
No, I like Dennis.
I like Dennis too. When you're next off, Dennis could present.
Yeah.
Justin...
Morning, boss.
Right, this is really getting out of hand.
Can
you... Right, I need you... I'm not breathy and swallowy, am I?
No.
Good. Now,
Sounds as though you swallowed the microphone.
Now...
Good one, Dennis.
Justin, can you be me?
Yes.
Right, and be rude to Dennis and cut him off?
Dennis, you keep phoning me every single day.
No, that's
I've had
not
enough
true.
of you.
I pick the days. Not every single day.
Most days, you're boring me. Go away and take your squeaky chair with you. Bye.
Oh.
That's nasty.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Am I really breathy and swallowy?
No.
No, that could be Justin having a tab. We just don't know. Now, listen, the reason we got you on, Justin, now, because I'm looking forward to this, Doctor Who, 50th anniversary, Saturday. I am very, very, very excited. Very excited. I might treat myself to some box sets this weekend, have a bit of John Pertwee, maybe even a bit of Troughton, one of the most underrated doctors of all time. But, I want to do a Doctor Who special on Friday. Okay. A little bit of stiff opposition from Catherine. So I said, Justin, go out on the streets and find out if people want to celebrate Doctor Who special on Friday on the show. And you went out, you got a nice Vox. Let's put it to the public, Justin. What have people been saying?
Well, Iain, I've worked at BBC Three Counties Radio for a very, very long time. The people on the streets, they're very nice, but also very, very honest.
Aren't they just?
Yes.
I don't know if you can deal with this.
I have been asking them whether they think you should be doing a Doctor Who special on Friday.
Yep.
Here's what the good people of Luton had to say.
Bring it on.
Tony, what do you think about Iain Lee's special?
If you did that, I would be disgusted.
That would be terrible. Ian needs to concentrate on his shirts, not Doctor Who.
So many people want to have their say about this Doctor Who special. Joe, what do you think?
Go away and take your Doctor Who talk with you, J-Dog.
It's a bit harsh, don't you think?
No.
Jerry, good morning. I'm on the streets this morning getting a bit of feedback on Iain Lee's Doctor Who special for Friday. What do you think?
Local radio is about the great songs from Wham and Jason Donovan, and not Doctor Who.
I'll probably go along with that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Terry, what do you think?
You want feedback? I will give you feedback. Play more Engelbert Humperdinck instead of wasting time on Doctor Who.
It's a very good point. Well said. Thank you very much indeed. Have a good day, sir.
And you. Thank you.
I have never watched Doctor Who. I only watch Crime Watch, and that's about it.
Tell Iain Lee he is sad and he needs to eat meat. Isn't it rubbish? Yeah.
Terrible.
Isn't it rubbish? Yeah. I used to watch it when I was a kid.
But not now.
Not now, no.
I would watch Alec Jones if you did that.
Intercom man, Iain Lee wants to do a Doctor Who special on Friday. Should he do it?
Go on, then.
You don't seem too enthusiastic about it. He should definitely go ahead.
Yeah, why not?
Can you do a home and away special instead?
You prefer that, would you? Just say yes.
Yes.
Right, OK. That seems pretty conclusive, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, Intercom man's the only person... he's the only person who said yes, and he says yes to anything. So the majority of people, they're clearly saying no to your special on Friday. Sorry.
Can I ask you a question, Justin?
Yeah.
Were they all spontaneous answers?
I couldn't believe some of the answers. Very, very spontaneous and very, very to the point as well.
I couldn't believe them either, because some of them sounded, and I know you wouldn't do this because this would be against BBC regulations. Some of them sounded almost, scripted.
No, not at all, not at all. Those were genuine views. That's what people think about your special on Friday, Iain. I'm sorry, but they are just not interested. They would prefer to hear Engelbert Humperdinck or Jason Donovan.
I tell you what, Justin. Let's give. Right, okay. This is what we'll do. Let's give the people of Beds, Hearts and Bucks another chance. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you go out again?
Yep.
and get another Vox. But this time, what I want you to aim for is young men under the age of 25, probably with bad skin and wearing glasses. Could we do that?
I shall do that, but I would say the evidence there is fairly conclusive for you.
I would like a second opinion, if you don't mind.
I shall do that for you today, and I shall report back tomorrow morning for you.
Justin, thank you very much indeed. Disappointing response there from people of Beds, Hearts and Bucks. Let's get a second opinion, shall we?
No. I think that's pretty conclusive.
No, I'm going to send that one off to the laboratory to have it investigated. And
hang on, it's just come back. Yep, conclusive.
Yeah, and that came back conclusive.
Oh, wow.
Travel news for Beds, Cards and Bucks.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Big problems with the A40 eastbound, which is closed between the Denham roundabout and the Swakeleys roundabout after an earlier lorry fire. Queues back on the M40 to Junction 2 for Beaconsfield. It's also causing problems on the A40 in Beaconsfield at Park Lane, which is very slow. The M25 in both directions. The exit slip road for Junction 16 for the M40 has been closed. There are also long delays anti-clockwise there back to Junction 21 for the M1 and clockwise to Junction 15 for the M4. Also very slow on the M25 between 18 for Chorleywood and 25 for Watford. The M1 London bound is slow between 10 for Luton Airport and 7 for Hemel Hempstead. Public transport, Greater Anglia had delays of up to 30 minutes between Hertford East and Liverpool Street. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alice, thank you very much indeed. Right, 7:47. It's Wednesday, the 20th of November. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. 44 Spanish nurses are to be employed at Bedford Hospital because of a lack of local staff. A woman from Milton Keynes who took to Twitter to complain about her employer has had the libel case against her dropped. In football, the Wycombe High Chair Wanderers are in the second round of the FA Cup after a 2-0 win over Crewe. Coming up, people are getting into trouble for saying stupid stuff on Twitter. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Sarah, before you do the weather,
yes,
can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
50th anniversary of Doctor Who on the weekend.
Yes.
Would you like it if we did a Doctor Who special on this show on Friday?
Oh my goodness me, I'd love it. And my son would tune in. It would be brilliant. That's not the right answer, is it?
That is the correct answer, Sarah. Thank you very much indeed. Please continue with your weather, and you take as long as you want. Thank you.
Oh, I'm excited. Are we going to do that then? Should I be tuning in on Friday?
Tune in on Friday?
I'm on the programme on Friday, actually.
Oh, Catherine.
Even better.
Catherine, Sarah's on the programme on Friday, and she wants us to do a Doctor Who special.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, she's so rude.
Oh, come on, why would you not? Oh, OK, right.
They're so miserable. BBC Three Counties, they're so miserable here. Really is an awful place to work.
I could do that all morning if you like on Friday.
You're booked. Do the weather now and we'll speak to your agent.
All right then. By the way, I have to pay to sing on air. I have to pay you. Right, OK, we've got some rain with us at the moment across the three counties. It's a little bit patchy towards Buckinghamshire. It's heavier towards Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire just now. But actually, we're going to continue with that rain, even though we've got those sort of slightly drier interludes right the way through this morning. Temperatures last night were down as low as -3 in the three counties. -6 just across the border in Oxfordshire, which made it the coldest night of the season so far there. That's a well-known frost hollow, though. And actually, temperatures have risen as that rain's moved towards us in the last couple of hours. So we've got rain right the way through this morning. It's clearing off towards the south and east. The winds are really a key feature as well. Wet and windy over the Chilterns, perhaps falling a little bit sleety at times. It pulls away. Later this afternoon, we'll dry out. We'll brighten up, some sunshine. Top temperature of 7 Celsius, 45 in Fahrenheit. Some following showers behind that, though. Don't be fooled. That's not the end of it. And the showers, again, could be a little bit wintry as we go through this evening and overnight over the Chilterns. We'll keep temperatures around 1 Celsius typically overnight, and then tomorrow it's a question of some showers in the first half of the day, but also some drier interludes and a top temperature of 8 Celsius, Iain.
Sarah, I shall speak to you on Friday.
OK.
Ta-ta, bye-bye, there you go. And look at this. John has emailed in, and he's done it in a really big font. Like, it's probably a 26. Bring it on, Doctor Who Friday. Oh, my friends, it's going to happen.
Across Beds, Herts and Bucks, 664 police officers are trained to use tasers. There's no question it's painful, but many police officers want them, and more officers are being trained to use them.
They're put through a 3-day, very intensive and comprehensive training package, which is recognised as one of the best in the world.
So, next Tuesday evening in Luton, I'm hosting a JVS Show Taser special. I'll show you what happened when I was taser trained, and you can put your questions to me, police experts, and anti-taser lawyer Sophie Khan. If you'd like to be in the audience and take part, call 08459 455 555 or email jvsshow@bbc.co.uk.
The way I describe it, it's the most painful thing I've ever volunteered to do.
A JVS Show Taser special, next Tuesday evening in Luton. Get in touch to book your place.
And this hasn't been confirmed yet, but I do believe Jonathan will also be taking his keyboard. So there'll be a sing-along at the end as well. Talking about nurses, Marion and Hemel says, Iain, Spanish nurses are not necessarily better than British. They are ready, willing and able and prepared to travel. Well, hang on a minute. That's surely something they're better at than British nurses then, if that's the problem. Why aren't British nurses ready, willing and able and prepared to travel? Jean in Bedford says, so what happens to the student nurses about to qualify? Will they have a job? John's in Buckinghamshire. Morning, John.
Morning.
John, you're a nurse, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
What do you think about Spanish nurses coming over and foreign nurses in general coming over and taking jobs?
If they're qualified, they should be accepted for the post. I don't think we should have British nurses taken over Spanish nurses. I think the best person for the job should be employed.
And I think that's what's happening at the moment. I believe that to be the case. There is a problem in nursing, isn't there, John? In as much as there are a number, and it's a minority, but there are a number of nurses who seem like they just don't give a stuff about patients. How can we change that?
I think the problem is I know during shifts that I have, is that we, as a qualified member of staff, we have to prioritise care. And it may be that people are feeling that they're being ignored when actually the staff are dealing with something that's a little bit more serious. I mean, I could be looking after a patient that's saturations are dropping, that his stats are going down, that is acutely ill, and my time would be taken up with that, and there could be another patient on the ward buzzing for another issue. And we have, unfortunately, due to the staffing levels, which aren't going to change, no matter what the government says and puts on its board, they know they're not going to change because they're not actually putting figures towards.
Listen, I'm sure most people would be appreciative of the work you have to do and that you can't always respond to a buzzer immediately. But the example of my wife, she'd given birth to our first son. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. She was in the ward. She was scared. The boy wasn't moving. She buzzed the nurse. 10 minutes later, a nurse popped her head around the curtain and said, look, don't ring that in the middle of the night. Just wait until you see one of us walking past, please. That's not good, is it?
That's not good. And that sort of behaviour isn't acceptable and would not be acceptable on the ward I work at.
Good. John, listen, go on, carry on quickly.
No.
John, listen, we're running out of time. I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm sure that most patients would understand that nurses are very busy. And yes, you press a buzzer, you don't get seen immediately. Well, that can be fine if they're doing something. But quite often, they're just chatting at the station post, aren't they? 08459 455 555. The reason I cut John off quickly was because I want to squeeze this in. An incredible story about a driver who knocked a cyclist off his bike and gloated about it on Twitter has been found guilty of failing to stop and failing to report an accident. Interestingly, Emma Way has described tweeting about it as the biggest regret of her life. Not the fact that she knocked a bloke off of his bicycle. So it goes to show you've got to be careful what you write, as one Milton Keynes woman, Leslie Kemp, found out. She joins me now. Good morning, Leslie.
Hello there.
So, carefully, obviously, what did you tweet that got you into trouble?
I had a moan because one of my clients, I'm a self-employed typist, delayed paying my bill repeatedly, and then I tried through a lot of different ways to try and get the money out of him, including threatening to go through the small claims court, which I actually instigated and was told I couldn't do because he lived in Qatar. Anyway, I was fed up, broke, and I tweeted that he hadn't paid his bill, or rather he was delaying paying his bill, and he didn't like that and he sued me.
Wow. And you named him in this tweet, did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. And you found yourself being sued for libel, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? That must have been a shock.
I was in a state of complete shock. When it happened, I thought this kind of thing can't happen, because all the tweets that I tweeted were completely honest at the time that they were tweeted. Of course, time carries on and you're overtaken by events. But anyway, what I tweeted at the time was honest, and I thought, how can you sue someone if they're just tweeting the honest truth? And I didn't realise how badly against my favour, the English libel laws were. Had I known that, I probably would have not said anything at the time.
I'm assuming you were employed by a third party, an agency or something.
No, I'm completely self-employed.
So you went straight to this chap, okay.
Yeah. So
you got legal advice. What did they say?
Eventually, yes. I was referred to Robert Dugans, who took over everything and dealt with the legalities of it all. I didn't have to do anything after that, because up to then I'd been dealing with it. I'd been receiving threatening, nasty letters from the solicitor from the other side, and I felt completely intimidated. Excuse me. And so it was a great relief when Robert Dugans took on my case and fought my corner for me.
The case has been dropped now. How did that come about? How did you get to a resolution?
As far as I know, I think I'm correct in saying there was no actual resolution. The other decided to drop the case, mainly because they weren't, I think, prepared or willing to pay costs into court in the event that they needed to enable them to defend themselves. I'm sorry, I'm stammering because I'm not really hot on the legal side.
No, of course not. Has it affected the way that you use things like Twitter and Facebook?
To a certain extent, you have to learn how to play the game.
Yeah.
My lawyer said something very interesting to me the other day, which was people can get away with saying the most appalling things, disgusting things, but they can't be challenged legally for it. But somebody might make a courteous tweet, which is a little bit off kilter, and they can get sued because legally, people can get a foothold into them.
Leslie, we've got to end it there. Thank you very much indeed. I'm glad it's all sorted out. Hey, hands up, who's been suspended for 2 weeks from work for tweeting about an energy supplier knackering up their boiler? Yeah, that's right. An energy supplier completely did over my boiler. They came and serviced it. I went on holiday. I came back. It flooded the flat downstairs. I tweeted several things because this energy company would not sort it out. I got a phone call shortly after from the boss of my then radio station saying... yeah, we've just had a certain energy company on the line saying you've been rude about them. Yeah, they're the biggest sponsor of this radio station. You're suspended for 2 weeks. Thanks very much, guys.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Major problems on the A40 this morning. Eastbound still closed between the Denham roundabout and Swakeleys roundabout after a lorry fire. Queues back on the M40 to junction 2 for Beaconsfield. Also affecting the northbound M40 where there are queues from the Denham roundabout on the A40 back to Master Brewer. Also causing problems on the A40 southbound at Beaconsfield at Park Lane, very slow. And then in Gerrards Cross, the A40 eastbound is slow between Bulstrode Way and Amersham Road. The M25 in both directions. The exit slip road for junction 16 for the M40 is closed. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Alice. So, Spanish nurses are better than British nurses. The world's most boring voice. And surely you're heartless if you have no sympathy for drug addicts. Here's the news.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8 o'clock. I'm Jane Killick. The headlines. Spanish nurses recruited to Bedford Hospital. Twitter libel case dropped against a Milton Keynes woman. And children aren't as fit as they used to be.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Bedford Hospital has taken on 44 Spanish nurses because it can't find enough staff locally. The Royal College of Nursing says Bedford is not unique in having to recruit staff from overseas, and it's a pattern repeatedly seen across the east of England. Tony McGrath from the nursing department at the University of Bedfordshire says the lack of British nurses is down to bad planning.
Planners have to sort of think years ahead about the nurses they need for the wards. So they look at when people are going to retire, they try and sort of anticipate problems, but sometimes they don't always get it right.
Northern Ireland's Attorney General has called for an end to prosecutions linked to events that took place during the Troubles. John Larkin says politicians should consider legislation that would draw a line under offences that took place before the Good Friday Agreement. A woman from Milton Keynes is celebrating after having a libel case against her dropped. Leslie Kemp complained publicly on Twitter that her employer had delayed paying her. She says she was astonished when it happened.
What I tweeted at the time was honest, and I thought, how can you sue someone if they're just tweeting the honest truth? And I didn't realise how badly against my favour, the English libel laws were.
Lifts on Stevenage Railway Station will be out of action for several months while refurbishment work is underway. £1 million is being spent on the station, including new lifts and a new cafe. Roger Perkins from First Capital Connect says people with mobility problems can be taken to other stations by taxi if they let staff know in advance.
We would most likely put people into a cab to either Hitchin if you're going north or south to Welwyn Garden City.
Drug users in Hertfordshire are being warned about a strong batch of heroin. A 37-year-old man has died in Watford. And in October, a patient at Milton Keynes Hospital also died after taking what is believed to be a particularly strong dose of heroin. A study into global fitness has found that many children today cannot run as fast as their parents did decades ago. Michelle Roberts reports on the study by Australian researchers.
When running a mile, children are about a minute and a half slower than their peers 30 years ago. The decline is seen in boys and girls and across all ages from 9 to 17, and it's linked to obesity. The authors of the study say young people are not getting enough of the right exercise, at least an hour a day of sustained activity which makes you pant and sweat.
And in football, Wycombe Wanderers are through to the second round of the FA Cup. The Chairboys beat Crewe 2-0 in their away replay, but Boreham Wood was knocked out of the competition. The weather, any showers clearing to allow some sunny spells this morning with further showers this afternoon and a high of 6 Celsius. And get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
We're coming to towns and villages all across our counties. BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, hearts and bucks.
When you can come to places like Wolverton, you can find a lot of heritage, culture.
It's not just the place, is it? It's the spirit of the people.
All this week in Wolverton.
You could never be bored here if you didn't want to be.
The big tour of beds, hearts and bucks. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Put that ruddy thing away.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. It's nearly 4 minutes past 8. Who'd have thunk it? Here every weekday morning between 6 and 9, JVS takes over at 9 o'clock. He'll pop in about 12 minutes to tell us what's on his show this morning. Lots coming up, though. Half of our hospitals are topping up with foreign nurses. Well, Spanish nurses are better than British ones, apparently. Do you agree? Police are warning heroin addicts to be careful as there is a particularly strong batch out there. Heard some amazing audio from Justin Dealey earlier on. Do you have sympathy for drug addicts? Surely you're cold and heartless if you don't. And I'm determined that on Friday we're going to have a Doctor Who special. Which members of my team want one?
I do!
Yeah, Kelly's on side. Awesome! Do you want one as well? 08459 455 555. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. Or you can send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
By the way, you two, Catherine and Kelly, I'm not reading out those fake texts you sent me.
They're not fake texts.
I'm not reading out the fake texts.
What text? Shall I tell you?
Well, I know they're fake because Kelly started acting, and when she acts...
No. I'm actually serious. Text. Simon Newham from Leighton Buzzard.
Made up.
Loving the show, but no offence, can we hear less of your voice and more of the beautiful Kelly Betts?
Oh, thanks.
If I was making it up, I'd put my name in there too.
Thanks, Simon.
Good morning, Ian. If you do a Doctor Who special, I'll switch off from 6 till 9. Doctor Who's for geeks. That's from Lee and Sandy.
Very astute.
Well, why have these people texted in and they've not called in? They haven't texted in because you've written them on the screen yourself.
Why would we make that up?
Because
check it out. It's there.
You've
black and
texted
white.
it in your... Phone those numbers up now.
I don't even know who Doctor Who is, says Zasha.
Well, Zasha needs to be educated. This is what the BBC is here for. It's to inform and educate and titillate, is it?
Leslie in Watford says, if you do the Doctor Who
breathy.
show, please give the older docs a fair share. Don't just cover the latest bunch. Leslie, don't worry, won't be covering either.
We're getting Colin Baker on. Colin Baker's coming on, Leslie, so don't worry. So she wants it.
Is he related to Cheryl Baker?
Oh, goodness sakes. Talking about nurses, Spanish nurses are better than British nurses, according to one UK body. Marion and Hemel... oh, no, I've done those ones. Sorry. Let's go to Peter in Walmer Green. Morning, Peter.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. You all right?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to say, basically, on nurses,
Yep.
that I don't care where they come from, providing they're fully qualified and overseen for the first few months they're there, that's for sure, because they've got to be conversant in all the sort of medicines that's going to be issued anyway.
All I want from nurses, Peter, I want fully qualified. I want to be able to understand them and for them to understand me, and I want a bit of compassion and caring.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not all nurses are the same, that's for sure. We all know that. What we're defending here, we should be defending with our life, is the National Health Service, because if you don't defend that with your life, that's what it comes down to in the final years, if you like. We need the National Health Service fully functional and treating everyone with decency. In fact, when I heard the news about over 75s going to be treated differently, I want to be treated exactly the same as anybody else. I'm over 75.
Well, that was a story, I think, from earlier this week or maybe last week, where over 75s are going to have... they're going to be guaranteed to see their own doctor, so there will be consistency in the healthcare.
Yeah, providing that you see, at the moment, when you're over 75, you are discriminated against in the National Health Service as well.
In what way?
Well, I mean, I went into a National Health Service bus in a car park.
A bus?
Yeah, they send out a travelling bus and they take people's blood pressures and things.
A little check-up, yeah.
Double-decker bus. And they was giving people various checks, doing a blood pressure check, and then people were going up, they was taking people upstairs for further checks. And I went in as an over 75, and they did my blood pressure check, and they said, oh, well, we can't do no more for you, you're over 75. And so it's discrimination, really. I mean, I've got people bowling at age 95.
Yeah, but what, Crown Green bowling or 10-pin?
No, ordinary flat green bowl.
Well, that's not... Yeah, well, the 95, that's quite slow and sedate, isn't it?
No, not really, because you're walking about for 2.5 hours, you're bending up and down, you're keeping extremely fit. In fact, some of the youngsters who come on are more tired than the older ones.
I'd like to see you do a bungee jump.
No, I wouldn't do a bungee jump.
Really, why?
Oh, because...
your teeth would come out.
No. There is so much pressure on your eyes when you bungee jump, you could get bleeding from the eyes. You do know that, don't you?
Is it true? Now, I've heard this, and I don't know if this is true or not. If you do a bungee jump, there's so much pressure on your eyes that your eyes can pop out.
Well, I don't know about them popping out, but they certainly can cause the pressure to rise greatly when you do a jump like that.
Okay, well,
I mean, they're very delicate instruments, you know.
They certainly are. I've got a couple of other delicate instruments. I certainly wouldn't want to be affected by a bungee jump. Peter, thank you. A good sport as always. The reason we're talking about nurses is because the trust that runs Bedford Hospitals has had to take on 44 Spanish nurses because it can't find staff locally. It's not unique in having to look abroad to fill vacancies. Half of all trusts in the east of England are recruiting nurses from abroad. That's according to the Royal College of Nurses. Well, our reporter Justin Dealey is in Bedford this morning. You've been asking people about these Spanish nurses, haven't you, Justin?
Yes, I have been. I'm actually outside Bedford Hospital as we speak. I can't find any opposition to this move. Here's what people in Bedford have had to say this morning. Well, having 44 Spanish nurses at Bedford Hospital, does that bother you at all?
No, not really. No, I have no concern with that myself. It depends on whether they are legitimately here and they've passed all the necessary checks and they have the necessary language skills in order to deal with their patients.
So as long as they can speak the language,
as long as they have adequate language skills. I am a language teacher myself and I am very much in favour of travelling around and moving to other countries as long as you have the necessary levels of language.
And a final question on communication. Have you had a situation where you've seen a doctor or you've been in hospital where they can't speak the language?
I've only ever had one situation where a Russian doctor was unable to communicate effectively. her diagnosis, but I was still able to understand what she wanted to get at.
Brett, you're pretty much in favour of this. It doesn't bother you at all. Can you tell us why?
No, but just like I say, the service they're going to give you is going to be as good. I know what people are looking at. They're English people and they should be getting the jobs, but if they're going to work and do a good service, what's the problem?
Maureen, the fact that Bedford Hospital have hired 44 Spanish nurses, does that bother you in the slightest?
No, it doesn't really. As long as they're there to do the job and they're not taking our people's jobs, because our people won't do the job because the wages are not good enough. My niece actually works at Bedford Hospital, so I know what it's like. No, it doesn't bother me at all.
So you're saying that English people are not prepared to work for those wages?
No, they're not. No, they're not.
So in actual fact, we've only got ourselves to blame here?
Well, definitely. Absolutely, yeah.
OK, what do you think about the situation of hiring 44 Spanish nurses at Bedford?
I think that it's a good thing for Bedford Hospital. It's good to have somebody that's going to be willing to come over to this country and care. They obviously need the employment and we obviously need the carers.
Thank you very much for that, Justin. I'm joined now by Nina Fraser, Director of Nursing and Patient Services at Bedford Hospital. Morning, Nina. Why do we need so many Spanish nurses?
Good morning. Really good to speak to you, Mr. Lee. We need Spanish nurses. We need nurses at Bedford Hospital. And what we do ordinarily to recruit to our nursing vacancies is recruit locally where we can, nationally, and then if we need to, we go further afield. And in this case, at this position in time, we've gone to Spain and been really fortunate to recruit 44 really good Spanish nurses.
Why couldn't you recruit locally or nationally at this time?
So we have recruited locally and we have recruited nationally, and we also recruit our student nurses who qualify twice a year from the University of Bedfordshire.
OK, but there's still a shortfall of 44. Why did you have to get those from abroad?
So we have a current vacancy rate of 35. We proactively went to Spain, and we wanted to go to Spain because we've had really good feedback from other hospitals who've recruited from Spain.
So back to the question, why couldn't you get those 44 nurses from the local area or from Britain?
So we understand that the new figures show that following the Francis inquiry report, that hospitals are planning to employ nearly 4,000 additional nurses over the coming months. And we're part of that number, and we need nurses into our vacancies as soon as possible. So we have a recruitment process that we go through locally, nationally, and then if we need to, we go internationally.
OK, I'll ask again. Why couldn't you get those 44 nurses locally or nationally? What was the problem?
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is there was a peak of demand. There has been a peak of demand for nursing staff within the UK and within England following the Francis inquiry report. And as I said, we have tried proactively to recruit locally and nationally, and now we've gone internationally.
Are we not training enough nurses? Is that the problem?
So every year we plan how many nurses that we need to recruit, and every year we work with the University of Bedfordshire to plan the numbers of nurses.
So someone's messed up spectacularly here if you're 44 short.
No, we've also recruited this year, particularly you'll notice that I said that we had 35 vacancies, and we've actually gone to recruit more than 35 because we're anticipating the winter period where we might need to open more beds.
But if the whole the number of nurses you get and train is based on anticipation, well, someone has seriously underestimated. If you're 35, as you say, short, and you have to go abroad, that's an underestimation, isn't it? Whose fault is that?
Well, we plan every week. We plan how many vacancies we have, and we go out to
you're
recruitment.
short. So whose fault is it you're short?
So we go out to recruit locally, nationally,
and internationally
if we need to.
So whose fault is it you're short?
Well, it's not about fault being short. This is about we've taken a really proactive approach to be able to get those nurses in really quickly. We've recruited with a recruitment agency who we know is a really good recruitment agency. It's highly recommended to us.
Nina, yes. you said that you have to calculate how many nurses you will need. Obviously someone has miscalculated by the fact that you've had to go and get so many nurses from abroad. So who miscalculated, and how did that miscalculation happen?
No, we haven't miscalculated. What I'm saying to you is that we
then why are you so many nurses short?
We're not so many nurses short. We have a really excellent nurse bank here at Bedford Hospital, which is flexible to needs where there are vacancies or where there are additional needs for patients.
So I'll go back to the first question because I'm missing something here, Nina. why then, if you didn't underestimate, if you prefer to source nurses locally than nationally, why did you have to get so many nurses from abroad? That means there must be a shortage of British nurses.
Well, clearly there is a shortage.
OK, we're getting somewhere. Why is there a shortage of British nurses?
Well, as I said to you, after the Francis inquiry report, all of our hospitals have taken a review of nursing staff, and we're doing that twice a year. So I've just finished another review of nursing staff.
Why is there a shortage of British nurses?
So what I'm saying to you is that every year we plan how many nurses we need to recruit, and a nursing qualification takes 3 to 4 years to achieve. And so it takes time.
We're going around in circles, Nina. So someone underestimated, but there is a shortage of British nurses. The reason there's a shortage of British nurses is because it takes 3 years to plan and train. But someone underestimated. We're just going around in circles, Nina. You're not really. You're answering the next or the previous question.
Well, things change, and as new national reports come out, we consider them, and that's what we've done this time.
Okay, so you can't answer why there's a shortage of British nurses.
Well, I'm telling you that there clearly is at the moment.
Yes,
and
we know.
The reason
Why?
that there is because there's a peak in demand for nursing staff, not only because of making sure that we have the right numbers of nurses to care for our patients on the ward, but also right now it's because I want to proactively recruit enough nurses to be able to care for people over the winter.
Okay, Nina, thank you very much indeed. I feel like we're going around in circles. She wants to recruit enough nurses, but someone underestimated, but there's a national shortage of nurses, but so they proactively recruit nurses, but they've got some from abroad. Was anyone else following that? I didn't follow that. I'm very confused. I'm sure she came on with the best intentions. I couldn't understand what was going on. 08459 455 555. A little bit late, let's get the travel.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The A40 eastbound closed between the Denham roundabout and Swakeleys roundabout following a lorry fire. There are severe delays around the area. Back on the M40 to Junction 2 for Beaconsfield. The exit slip roads on the M25 for Junction 16 are closed. Queues through Uxbridge, Hillingdon and around Rickmansworth as well. The M25 is queuing at both directions at Junction 16, clockwise to 13 for Staines and anti-clockwise to 19 for Watford. The M40 northbound is also queuing from the Denham roundabout back to Master Brewer on the A40. Beaconsfield's having problems because of this problem on the A40 on the A355 southbound, which is slow to the 3 turns traffic lights in Slough. We had a call from Joe, reports that the 3 Cherry Trees Lane in Hemel Hempstead is closed after an accident making Redbourne Road busy. Public transport Greater Anglia have delays of up to 30 minutes between Hertford East and Liverpool Street. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much indeed. 8:18, it's Wednesday the 20th of November. These are your headlines. Bedford Hospital has turned to Spain to recruit nurses. Hertfordshire police are warning about a strong batch of heroin which has already killed a man in Watford. In football, the Wycombe High Chair Wanderers beat Crewe 2-0 last night, taking them through to the next round of the FA Cup. The weather, it's sunny spells this morning, but showers this afternoon and a high of 6 Celsius. Coming up, we're talking more about the drug warning in Watford and Milton Keynes, and after this, it'll be JVS.
BBC Three Counties Radio. BBC Three Counties Radio's Big Tour. Coming to towns and villages across beds, Herts and bucks as we bring you the Three Counties like never before. It's a huge trip celebrating all that's amazing about where we live.
There's always somebody that you know everywhere you go.
All this week in Wolverton.
Somewhere where you're always going to feel welcome. You can get stuck in and get to know people.
If you've got a story everyone should know about, let us tell everybody about it. Send us an email to 3cr@bbc.co.uk.
It's not just the place, is it? It's the spirit of the people.
BBC Three Counties Radio's big tour of beds, Herts and bucks. All this week in Wolverton.
Not only is it a friendly place to live, but it's also, there's lots going on.
Local and vocal. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Look at you rocking out to that, really doing a real kind of dirty rocker.
We're local and vocal, aren't we?
Well, local and indeed vocal, we certainly are, yes, exactly. Jonathan Vernon-Smith is here with a very snazzy suit. Have you bought a new wardrobe for your live concert you're doing next week?
No, this is not. No, this is an old jacket.
I know.
But
I was ignoring that and moving on to the smart new shirt.
But the shirt,
beautiful.
This is. I had to go and change this because my father bought me what can only be described as a fat man tent. for my birthday. I opened the bag. He said, "I've got you a nice shirt," and it was a really lovely shirt.
Yeah.
Size large.
Oh.
Do I look like a large?
What are you, a medium?
No, I'm not. I'm a small. This is a
small?
small. Let me take it off and show you. This is a small.
Stripping off the jacket. Really?
Yes.
Nice buns, by the way. A small... no, grown men can't fit into small shirts.
Well, they can if they're slim.
I see what you've done there. You held the mirror up and sent it straight back to me.
No, but you can. I said to my father, how fat do you think I am, for goodness sake?
You're not a fat man, no.
So I had to take it back, and the woman in the shop said, "Oh, why are you returning it?" I said, "Well, can I return it, please, and change it for the small?"
Yes.
Because seemingly my father thinks that I'm fatter than I am. And she thought that was hilarious. So she pointed me in the direction of the smalls.
The children's section.
Yes, this is a lady's
Kelly
shirt.
Betts, who works on the team, buys children's clothes.
Well, she'd have to. She's very small.
Tight, but that means she's not paying VAT on her clothes.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's no clothes on VAT, no VAT on children's clothes.
Really?
So I think she should put all that money she's saving in a kitty and have a nice little buy a little meal at the end of the year. I mean, give it to the taxman.
Give it to the poor.
Give it to the poor, yes.
I think would be a better idea, yes.
What's on your... By the way, what is this? I'm talking about you doing a concert, and I'm flippantly saying you might take a keyboard and play some Neil Sedaka.
No, there's no music.
There's no jokes and songs?
No.
What is it?
This is... so we're going to be discussing tasering. We're going to be discussing the rights and wrongs of our police all being armed with tasers.
Yep.
We'll have Sophie Khan, who I've come to blows with many a time.
I've heard, yes.
Well, Sophie Khan, you know, she's a solicitor, and she defends people who've been tasered by the police.
Yeah.
So, of course, she's bound to be pretty anti-taser, isn't she? So she's coming along. We've got a police officer who's very pro-taser and believes that it's quite right that the police should be armed with tasers. And there'll be an exclusive screening of the video footage of when I was taser trained, including my authorisation to taser a man who had a carving knife in his hand.
Oh, look at your face. If I want to come, I can't. I'm busy that night. But if I wanted to, it's next Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
How can people get tickets?
Drop us tickets. Well, I mean, you could just...
It's an event, so tickets.
Well, I don't know that we've necessarily got tickets.
Not
I think
people
we're
just turning up.
We take people's names down.
Oh.
You can...
How can people submit their name?
You can drop an email, jvsshow@bbc.co.uk.
I'm assuming you can have Tim or Jenna or someone at the door frisking people.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Someone
might sneak a taser in.
Yeah, exactly. Have some of this, JVS!
Yes. Exactly. That would be quite a...
ironic.
Momentous end to the evening, wouldn't it? I get tasered by a member of the public.
Get you a lot of good coverage.
It would, but I should... If anybody gets any ideas from that, there will be taser-trained officers at that event.
Okay,
who'll have tasers on them, so don't try it. They'll have my back.
What's on your show today?
Coming up on the big phone in this morning at 9, is it unfair to scrap benefits for the under-25s? Have you seen this in the Telegraph today? The Labour Party is considering a new means-tested youth allowance for 18 to 24-year-olds, not in work or education. Benefits for under-25s will be limited to £56.80 and would only be paid to those in purposeful training or intensively looking for jobs. Young people with parents earning over £25,000 a year, they would also not be eligible for any support from the taxpayer. Only last month, David Cameron, he was suggesting that young people should be barred from claiming housing or unemployment benefits. But do you agree? Or is it very unfair? From 9 this morning, I want your thoughts on this. Is it unfair to scrap benefits for the under-25s? 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The police are warning heroin addicts in Hertfordshire and Buckinghamshire that their next hit could be their last. A particularly potent batch of the drug killed one person in Milton Keynes in October, while earlier this month a 37-year-old man was found dead at his flat in Watford. I'm asking this morning, are you heartless and soulless if you don't have any sympathy for drug addicts? I'm guessing there are a few of you go, jog on, fella. It's a self-inflicted luxury problem. But it isn't. It's recognised as an illness. You wouldn't look at someone with cancer with disgust and contempt for having brought it on themselves. And I think that heroin or drug addiction could be classed in the same way. I'm joined now by Nick Messick, who has worked with drug addicts at the Mount Prison in Bovingdon, where he showed Russell Brand, a former addict or a recovering addict, how inmates got clean through abstinence rather than methadone replacement. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Very good, briefly on the story about this, the police issuing a warning over the fact that this heroin is so pure, it's potentially life-threatening. That's an unusual step to take, and there will be some people listening who think the police shouldn't be bothering issuing these kind of warnings.
Well, from my experience, Iain, it's difficult. The police have obviously put out a warning due to the fatalities caused by this potential potent batch of heroin. I mean, I don't know if that will make a difference, as you said rightly in your earlier statement around this being a disease of addiction, and there's a real sense of powerlessness in drug addicts that are using against their will a lot of the time. So I think it's really important that the warning's gone out there, but I'm not sure what difference that's going to make, to be fair.
Can I read you a text? I've just got this from Gary in Luton, and this is we've had similar messages like this all morning. Ian, you said drug addiction is not self-inflicted. Of course it is. I have no sympathy for druggies. They're weak-willed numpties who are just a scourge on our society and a waste of taxpayers' money, who only accept help when they can't get drugs and sell their prescription drugs for more illegal drugs. Lock them up and let them do cold turkey and string up the dealers. What's your response to Gary there, Nick?
I would strongly challenge that statement. I mean, he's obviously got... there is a scepticism and there is a belief, understandably, from the general public about how they view addiction and how they view people that take drugs and weak and a scourge on society because of the impact that addiction does have on society, which is rightly so. But from my experience, and no one sets out in their life as a career move, I'm going to be a drug addict when I grow up, and it starts for a variety of reasons. No one's really sure around where it starts, be it peer pressure or issues that they start using recreationally, and it goes from use to abuse, misuse, and into addiction. And then there is a sense that they, majority of addicts believe that they can stop when it gets bad enough, and unfortunately there is a sense and a powerlessness that they can't stop once they start, and there is a desperation to feed that habit, if you like. So, I really challenge that, and you're right, most of the medical professions are seeing alcoholism and addiction as an illness, which can be treated through abstinence-based recovery.
Well, I was going to ask, Nick, how do you treat it then? What is your preferred treatment for this condition?
Well, my experience of working for many years with addicts is an abstinence-based treatment program. And what this is about, it's drugs are normally the solution to their problems. So we get them into a place of abstinence, be it through methadone withdrawal or into a place where they're clean. Then that's a process of change. It is a change of attitudes, of patterns, of behaviours, of thinking, of installation of some hope. And there's various ways. The 12-step program works really well in addressing this. And, we've been really successful in our drug treatment programs in prison and in the community in getting an addict into a place where they're free from drugs. But then it's about a process of changing as a person, basically.
And Nick, if there are people listening to this, because drug addiction does, it knows no class or social boundaries. If there are people listening who are worried about themselves or a friend or a family member, where should they go?
Well, there's various services that they can contact in their local authority, drug agencies, GPs, and places like that. There is a lot of help out there today. I think the public's view is changing slowly, but understandably, I can see where people perhaps haven't experienced addictions in their lives or experienced it, but it is a progressive, fatal and incurable illness, but it can be treated.
And you're not
a day at a time.
You're not working. What are you doing now in the drug field? Are you still working in the same place?
No, I'm now working for a supported housing provider in London, providing abstinence-based supported houses. We take homeless drug addicts and alcoholics from the streets and put them through detox and treatment programs, and then house them for 2 years in the community while they work on voluntary work, education, training to reintegrate them back out into society. So I do a lot of work with prisoners being released now that have got into a place where they're clean, and then there's no point in them being clean with no job, no home, nothing like that. So we house them and we introduce them to services and signpost them to get education, training, voluntary work, and get them back into society to be productive members of society. These are not bad people, Ian. You know, they're not bad people trying to be good. We see them as sick people trying to get well. And I feel the public do need to open their mind a little bit about how they view addiction, but I understand that the impact that addiction and the consequences of addiction on communities and offending in particular would make anyone believe that these are the pariah of society and no one wants anything to do with them. And
Nick, we've got to, sorry to interrupt, we've got to end it there. I think it's a cracking point to end on. They're not bad people. Nick Masique there, thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555. Coming up, oh dear, I've had a sweary tweet from a Houghton Regis town councillor. Really? Oh dear, I'll tell you what it is after this.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Eastbound closure on the A40 between the Denham roundabout and Swakeleys roundabout after a lorry fire, causing big problems this morning. There are severe delays back to the M40 Junction 2 for Beaconsfield. Also, the exit slip roads of the M25 for Junction 16 are closed. Queues through Uxbridge, Hillingdon and also around Rickmansworth. The M25 is queuing in both directions at Junction 16. That's clockwise to the Junction 30 for Staines and anti-clockwise to 19 for Watford. In Beaconsfield, the A355 southbound is slow between the M40 Junction 2 and the 3 turns traffic lights in Slough. Can also see on the speed sensor that the A404 in High Wycombe is very slow between the Handy Cross roundabout junction and the Temple turn-off in Bisham. In Hitchin, Bedford Road is partially blocked in both directions at Fish Ponds Road after an accident, and it's slow in the centre of town there. Public transport has no reported problems. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Alice. I'm very surprised by this. This certainly brings something into question. A councillor, very upset with a little bit of the show earlier on, and so sent me a sweary text. A Houghton Regis town councillor. Find out who and what he said after this.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning, I'm Jane Killick. Bedford Hospital has taken on 44 Spanish nurses because it can't find enough staff locally. The Royal College of Nursing says Bedford is not unique in having to recruit staff from overseas. Northern Ireland's Attorney General has called for an end to prosecutions linked to events that took place during the Troubles. John Larkin says politicians should consider legislation that would draw a line under offences that took place before the Good Friday Agreement. And a woman from Milton Keynes is celebrating after having a libel case against her dropped. Leslie Kemp complained publicly on Twitter that her employer had delayed paying her. The weather, sunny spells this morning, showers this afternoon, some of them wintry over the Chilterns with a high of 6 Celsius. In last night's football, Wycombe Wanderers are through to the second round of the FA Cup. The Chairboys beat Crewe 2-0 in their away replay and will now face Preston at home in the next round. Stephen Craig and Gary Doherty scored the goals. Wycombe boss Gareth Ainsworth was delighted with the win.
It was a great performance tonight. I thought over the last 2 days we've prepared right. We employed the right tactics. The boys were committed in their energy levels and performance. You can't put things on, and shapes don't mean anything unless you run. You're willing to run and you're willing to back your teammates and win your headers and your tackles. That's exactly what the lads did.
Boreham Wood were knocked out of the FA Cup. Ian Allinson's side lost 2-1 in their first round replay at Carlisle. England lost 1-0 to Germany in their friendly international at Wembley. Arsenal's Per Mertesacker scored Germany's winner with a first-half header. The Tottenham winger, Andros Townsend, says their finishing let them down.
I think it was a positive performance. I think it was a good chance for us to test ourselves against one of the favourites for the World Cup, and I think we held our own, but we didn't get that in the final third. We couldn't get that breakthrough, and we couldn't get that goal. That was the only thing that let us down tonight.
Watford goalkeeper Jonathan Bond played the second half as England under-21s beat San Marino 9-0 last night in Shrewsbury. MK Dons lone striker Patrick Bamford played the last 25 minutes. And Luton Town striker Andre Gray was part of the England non-League C team, which drew 2-2 with the Czech Republic. BBC Three Counties Radio News and Sport. I'll be back with a full bulletin at 9.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
So, which member of the Houghton Regis Town Council took offence at the show and sent me rather bad-natured tweet. Well, it's Mr. Alan D. Winter, who took offence at my interviewing of a lady called Nina from Bedford Hospital about recruitment. He tweets, "You are being a complete twit." He doesn't say twit, he says twit with the A letter in. "You're being a complete twit again, interviewing, question mark, Bedford Hospital recruitment." That's a town councillor. Wow. Houghton Regis Town Councillor, news from my Facebook pages, Houghton Regis News Desk, and personal comments. I don't know if that's acceptable. Well, listen, if that's what he wants to tweet, that's what he wants to tweet. But I know if I tweeted something like that to a town councillor, I would get short shrift. Interesting. We're talking about nurses this morning. Lots of Spanish nurses have been recruited. There's a shortage of British nurses. No one's quite been able to explain why. Glenn's in Northampton. Glenn, you think you know why there is a shortage of British nurses, do you?
I do, yes.
Go on, what's happened?
Well, you know that programme, Wanted Down Under?
Oh, yes.
That was recruiting in Australia. Better pay, better way of life. And the problem with the UK is the working conditions and the hours they have to work. It's not an attractive career anymore.
Right.
And that's my personal view.
Listen, I think we'd all accept that the hours they work are pretty poor, the money they get isn't great, but yet Spanish nurses seem quite happy to come over here, and I'm guessing they're working for the same money, if not less.
Well, perhaps it's better for them to come to the UK than their conditions that they've got in Spain.
Glenn, I'm going to let you go, just because the line isn't great. I don't know if it sounds like you're in a wind tunnel or something, but I think we got your point across. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. I've got a couple of texts here as well. I tuned in by mistake this morning, but this argumentative git is great, says Sean in Hitchin. Is Sean talking about me?
Can't be.
I've been accused of being breathy, swallowy, and an argumentative git.
They say it like it's a bad thing, though.
I know.
You said breathy as you...
No, I didn't.
You did a bit.
You did a bit.
For goodness sakes. Ian, I don't believe for a minute there is a shortage... argumentative git. I don't believe there is for a minute there is a shortage of nurses. I believe there is a shortage in the wage budget that can only be filled by foreign nurses. Cheap labour yet again. Using the grumpy British nurse scenario as just an excuse. Better to have a grumpy nurse than one who can't speak, read or write English properly, especially where dangerous drugs are being issued, from Gary and Luton. What answer does Ian want? There is a shortage. Ask the public if they want to go into nursing. Wayne. Why are they employing Spanish nurses when we could be at war with them? Sorry, what? Eric's in St Albans. Morning, Eric.
Good morning, Ian.
I don't think we want to go to war with Spain, do we?
Well, no, Spain are at war with Gibraltar, basically, aren't they? Over the borders.
That's the reference. You're correct.
That's
Thank you.
Reference.
Yes. All good, for goodness' sakes.
Yeah.
No more wars, please.
No.
Eric, what would you like to say?
Well, basically, nurses are not allowed now, really, to nurse. They're paper machines. The last Labour government introduced so many statistics they wanted that the nurses are now filling in more paperwork than they ever did before, and they're not allowed to deal with it. The other thing is, at one time, nurses, you used to go to a hospital and say, I would like to be a nurse. They would employ you. You would get training on the job, hands-on. You would learn all these skills. Now, you've got to go to university to get a bit of paper to say that theoretically you can do it, and then when you get to the hospitals, you've got to start learning to do it properly, because when you're at university, you're not really told and shown the physical contact with all the patients. So you don't get patient contact and the feeling and knowing the patients, and this is half the problem.
So they've got the theory, they haven't quite got the practical.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you need the practical. I mean, I know one time Three Counties used to have students in seeing what goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't do that so much in the hospitals. You used to go, as I say, they used to have them there. You used to be trained on the job. If you went to university or college at that time, you went possibly one day a week. So you're getting your experience and training on the job, rather than a bit of paper that says, yes, I'm good at it at the college.
Yeah.
But when you're coming to do it practically, you can't. And obviously the hospitals are not employing staff, they recruit staff from agencies. And this is the problem.
Eric, thank you very much indeed. Howard's in Milton Keynes. Good morning, Howard.
Good morning.
Howard, you got a friend who's a nurse?
Yeah, my stepson's wife, she's a senior nurse in one of the London hospitals.
And what does she say about the situation of nursing?
She comes home and she sometimes has to go home tearing her hair out because of the shortage of nursing that are on her actual ward that she works on. She doesn't seem to say that it's a shortage of nurses as such. It's a shortage of cover. If any of the nurses that are off, they really do find it hard to cover a shift with the amount of with the legal amount of nurses that should be on that ward, and they do really struggle.
So they're stretched to the bare minimum, and if one or two nurses get taken off sick, that's it. They're in big trouble.
Yeah. One's only got a call in on the day of their so-called shift coming on, and they're knackered because they've got no other cover from any other wards because they're basically probably struggling as well. So they've got no cover. I mean, bank nursing is a good idea. It does help the cause a lot. I mean, I don't mind foreign nurses coming into the country. We had this a few years ago, I believe, with the Philippine nurses coming into the country to cover, because we had a shortage then of nurses. I don't think it's so much. I mean, I've got a friend who's just qualified as a nurse. She did a 3-year university course, and it does take a long time to recruit and train a nurse.
Yeah.
So, I can see that lady's point, who you were talking to earlier, but on the other hand, they need cover because it's dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to be in when you've got hardly anybody on that ward when you're looking after vulnerable people.
Howard, thank you very much indeed. Marco in St Albans has texted in. People are quick to complain and use the excuse of cheap labour, yet they walk around in their designer clothes with their iPhone, buying their kids toys for Christmas, all made where? China, where cheap labour is a real problem. They aren't complaining about that, are they? On the subject of drugs, I'm asking, if you don't have sympathy for drug addicts, are you a bit cold, a bit heartless? It's a medical condition. You wouldn't look at an asthmatic with disgust and disdain, would you, for being asthmatic? But yet some of you would be prepared to do that to a drug addict. It's a medical disease. Not all of you agree. Try and put your names on texts, please. I've gone a little bit slack on my rule on not reading unnamed text, but I will reintroduce it again soon. No such thing as recreational drugs. Why don't people try jumping off small heights to get their kicks? It's a brilliant high. And if it gets to a point where they go too far and end up dying from a high height, then it will be as tragic an accident as taking drugs. What a stupid text. Anonymous, stupid. It's their choice, don't hide the truth. Their choice to do drugs, my choice to call them wasters. I'm guessing you mean drugs. And John from Datchworth says, it seems to me that drug abusers and criminals, according to your last interview, get as much help as they can be afforded one way or another. Great. I think that's sarcastic, great. Then all the government want to do is take away any benefits, help for genuine law-abiding people. John from Datchworth. I am a strong believer that we should do as much as we can to help drug addicts get off drugs. Now, they'll only get off drugs when they're ready to get off drugs. That's the thing, when they have hit their rock bottom and then some. But surely we have to help drug addicts, don't we? I'm all for pouring money into helping people get clean from drugs so they can lead purposeful lives. They can be productive members of society. Our guest earlier on, Nick Messick, who's worked with drug users in prisons, as he says, drug addicts are not bad people. They are ill people trying to get well, not bad people trying to be good. They are sick people trying to get well. And that seems pretty obvious to me. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call on that. From Facebook, let's talk about... for goodness sake. Let's talk about nurses. Francis says, OK, if they speak understandable English and can understand our ways. Understand spelt incorrectly. There's no Z in understand. You know what I'm saying? Rita, how do they know this? Used to be other nationalities, not naming any. David says there is a difference between interviewing and interrogating your interview. Of Nina was without doubt nearer the latter. Well, I was very confused by her circular points that she was putting on. You'd ask one question, she'd answer the previous question. It's like that Two Ronnie sketch. It was almost as if she were reading from a script, and I would hate to suggest that she had been on a PR training course and had the answers typed up in front of her. 08459 455 555. If you missed the interview, it will be in this week's podcast. 8:45, BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel news now.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Problems still ongoing at the A40. Eastbound, it's closed between the Denham roundabout and Swakeleys roundabout after a lorry fire. Delays back on the M40 to junction 2 for Beaconsfield. In Beaconsfield, the A40 southbound is slow at Park Lane because of those delays. Also, the exit slip roads of the M25 for junction 16 have been closed, with queuing in both directions along the M25, clockwise to junction 13 for Staines and anti-clockwise to 19 for Watford. The M40 northbound is queuing from the Denham roundabout back to Master Brewer on the A40, and the M1 London bound is slow between the Toddington services and junction 7 for Hemel Hempstead. In Hemel, the A414 Breakspear Way eastbound has one lane blocked between Green Lane and the M1 junction 7, which is causing some slow traffic after an accident. Public transport has no reported problems. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Alice?
Yes.
Can I very quickly just get your opinion on something? On Friday, I'm really looking forward to possibly doing a Doctor Who special. Now, you're our regular newsreader, and I've got to say, Alice, you're doing a cracking job. You're easily the best we've had by a long way. Don't let that influence your answer.
Okay, so, I shan't at all.
Would you be up for us having a Doctor Who special on Friday?
Well, the consensus earlier was definitely no.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm a Doctor Who fan, so I feel I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place.
No, you come.
But the listeners said no.
Don't forget those losers. Don't forget those listeners for a second. Come to my hard place, Sarah. You want a Doctor Who special, don't you? Alice, you want a Doctor Who special, don't you?
I like Doctor Who. That's as far as I'm going to go.
Oh, hang on a minute. What? Yes, Catherine?
Text from Stu in bed. Seems we'll all have to listen to Heart Radio Friday, 6 till 9.
Oh, flip it. Where was that last travel guy we used to have? Can we get him back? He'd have been up for it. Alice, thank you very much. Deary me. Right, these are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. 44 Spanish nurses are to be employed at Bedford Hospital because of a lack of local staff. A woman from Milton Keynes who took to Twitter to complain about her employer has had the libel case against her dropped. In football, Wycombe Wanderers are in the second round of the FA Cup after a 2-0 win over Crewe. Coming up, we're talking more about the drug warning being issued in Watford and Milton Keynes, but before that, my favourite weather reader of all time, it's Sarah Thornton.
Beds, Hearts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
And let's not forget, I've said I'll do an operatic version of the Doctor Who theme tune.
You've got a 10-minute slot booked for Friday. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
I mean, I'm sure that the votes must have changed. I didn't know, by the way, that the listeners have voted again.
Listen, I know we're all pretending it's their BBC. It's not. It's ours. We own it. We drive this ship. We do what we want, Sarah.
They pay the licence fee. We all pay the licence fee, to be fair, but they pay the licence fee.
I pay mine sometimes.
I think
I mean, I pay it all the time.
All the time.
Let's just do the weather before we get in trouble.
You are in big trouble, mister. Hey, we've got some rain. I shouldn't say it in that sort of flippant way. We've got a lot of heavy rain around. It's not very nice at all out there. Actually, it's a little bit patchier sort of towards Buckinghamshire, High Wycombe, that kind of area, but towards Beds and Hearts, it is that bit heavier. And we've got some heavy bursts to come for all of us, actually, as we go through the next few hours. So wet and windy is the theme for this morning, and actually over higher ground, over the Chilterns, yes, a bit of sleet mixed in. It'll clear away and then we'll have a drier interlude this afternoon. Don't be fooled by that drier interlude, because actually it's further showers for this evening, and they again could be wintry over higher ground. Top temperature this afternoon, 7 Celsius, 45 in Fahrenheit, still breezy even when it is that bit drier, and then there's showers to come through this evening and overnight. We'll be seeing those showers first thing tomorrow, but things should dry out in the afternoon. Top temperature tomorrow, 8 degrees, lighter winds, and that sets the theme for things improving as we head towards the weekend. The weekend generally looking fairly dry and settled, although we will see some overnight frosts. Iain.
Thank you very much. Speak to you later on. Ta-ta.
The clock's ticking.
Doctor, it's time.
Doctor Who, The Day of the Doctor, Saturday night at 7:50 on BBC One and BBC One HD.
A across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call. 10 more minutes of this nonsense, then Jonathan Vernon Smith comes in and... well, he does a proper radio show, shall we say? Let's be completely honest. Now, we're talking about heroin this morning. The police have issued a warning to heroin users that there is a particularly strong batch going around following the death of a man in Watford recently. Officers were called to a flat in Hudson Close in Watford at 7:55 p.m. on November the 5th to reports of the concern for the welfare of a man in the premises. Officers in the ambulance service were in attendance. However, the man, who is 37 years old, was pronounced dead at the scene. Well, what do you think about this? Do you have sympathy for drug addicts? I think you kind of have to, and I think it's sad if you don't take pity. No, that's the wrong word. Sympathy, that could be it, with these kind of people. It's easy to shrug off drug users and drug addicts. It's their own fault. They brought it on themselves. Well, have they? Really? Same for alcoholics? Is it? 08459 455 555. Justin, we played a package from you about an hour and a half ago that I thought was seriously one of the best things that you've done. Just remind us who you were talking to and where you got this from.
Well, what I would say, first of all, I'm quite sad and saddened by some of the texts that you're receiving this morning, people having absolutely no sympathy for drug addicts whatsoever. I was in Watford yesterday and I was talking to people about the use of heroin. Again, I was very surprised at just how many stories people had. So many people's lives have been affected by this drug. So here's what people in Watford had to say to me yesterday about heroin. Nadine, you haven't used heroin yourself, but you know other people that have used heroin here in Watford. Just how bad is the problem here?
I should imagine it's countrywide, you know, where it doesn't just happen in Watford. Any city centre or even rural nowadays, I think it affects quite a few people.
And just tell us, the people that you know that have taken this drug, just tell us the change that you saw in those people.
A great change in their lifestyle. It's more of a single-track mind approach to life. You know, the main concern is their drug of choice. With all addictions, you know, because it's surprising. It affects everyone. You don't have to be rich or poor. You know, it can affect everyone, and it does affect everyone from every walk of life.
Danny, can you talk to me about your brother, because your brother was a heroin addict. Tell us how it started and how it affected your family.
Well, my brother was older than me, 5 years older than me, but even as a young man I thought I knew about his drug problem. It affected the whole family. Every time he was ODing, my mum had to go up to London and get him out of hospital. It upset the family, and he continued to take drugs all his life. His wife divorced him, he lost his children, and he died a very lonely man. And I come from a very big family, but he died on his own, very lonely, and everyone was very sad about it.
So was it the heroin that actually killed him?
No, they said he had a cancer growth on his neck, but because he'd left it untreated and he wasn't a well man and he was not a very fit man at all, far from it. I believe if he hadn't have been abusing heroin and other drugs throughout his life, he would have been able to fight that.
I mean, just how upsetting was it for you? I can't imagine anybody in my family being a heroin addict. You're seeing that day in, day out. How did that affect you, and how upsetting was that for you?
Well, it's upsetting because you're thinking, what a waste of a life, because you know the man's a lot more intelligent than that. And when someone says to you, here's a bottle of poison, take that every day, you wouldn't take it. But when it's social, there's a lot of issues here. It breaks your heart when you see someone you love, you know, turn into a terrible person that you can't trust.
And we're talking today about heroin, which is circulating in the streets in Watford of a higher purity. You must have every sympathy for people that are addicted to drugs, a bit like your brother was.
I have every sympathy with any drug user. You know, I used to be a drug user myself, and I think it's awful the way it's so readily available now and cheap. And so addictive with the purity stuff that's coming in now. I see people, kids, no more than children now, addicted to this stuff.
Justin, thank you very much for that. We'll put that in the podcast this week as well, because I thought that was cracking stuff. A text here from Jim in Milton Keynes. Iain, if I'm dependent on 2 bottles of morphine per day because of the pain I suffered due to damage caused by various occurrences in and out of the NHS, am I an addict or am I dependent on morphine for my pain relief? According to the NHS, I am addicted, but they're not able to suggest or provide any other medication or therapy that will be able to stop my pain. OK, we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's speak to Jane in Toddington on the subject of nurses. Morning, Jane.
Oh, good morning, Ian. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. There's a shortage of British nurses. Does that worry you?
Well, yes, it does, but I think there's a shortage more of care in the nursing system, and nurses don't always have the time to do it all. That's why I was saying, why not have a nurse's assistant, the one that goes around and makes sure these people are fine and brings them a cup of tea and, you know, tidies up after them or gets the nurse when she does think they need more help, and just to be an assistant. There's so many unemployed people out there.
So do you mean someone who hasn't got the nursing qualifications but has is a caring person working alongside nurses?
Side nurses, yes, that can go and quickly run and see what's going on or bring a cup of tea or, you know.
I tell you why that isn't going to happen. It's a cracking idea, but they won't pay for it, will they? No one's going to pay for it.
But isn't it funny they all find the money to pay our unemployed people that aren't getting off their butts and working, but they can't find money to send people to work. Well, if it were me, I'd tell people that are on unemployed benefits that you have to go to work.
Oh, but hang on, Jane, if we got those unemployed people said, look, listen, we're going to pay you your benefits, but you've got to go and help out our hospital 3 days a week. Would you really want them, begrudging people, looking after your mum or your nan or your children or something like that?
No, of course I wouldn't.
Just a bunch of randoms.
I'm sure there's a lot of, you know, single mums that are on benefits that can't quite go out and get a full-time job that would really welcome a job like that.
I'm sure they would, Jane. I'm sure they would. But it's money, isn't it? People aren't going to pay. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. And I guess that's the problem. And I think we've been fairly balanced this morning on the subject of nurses. I don't want this to have been a bashing of nurses, because I met some nurses yesterday for various reasons who were wonderful. You couldn't have asked for more compassion from them. I have also met nurses who've been, well, they've been rubbish. They've been rude and surly and disinterested and cold. And when you're ill, or when your family are ill, when you're in a hospital, it is a pretty scary place. I've not had to stay in hospital overnight for over 20 years, I think. I've been in and out, but not overnight. But staying in hospital it can be a terrifying experience. It's dark, it's cold, you're in a weird bed that's not very comfortable. There are all people making all kinds of noises. And you need that compassion, don't you? Don't you? And if it's lacking, well, I just think that having the compassion that perhaps isn't always there is an important thing that can be a great aid towards recovery. Catherine, would you...
No, I've got a couple of good texts there.
Oh, go on, where are the texts? I'm looking at sorry, I'm just looking at completely the wrong screen. Let's have a little look at this. About heroin there, but for the grace of God, go I, says Bev in Aylesbury. And John from Datchford says, you read one of my texts out earlier with a sarcastic great. Well, I read it as sarcastic, John. If it wasn't, I apologise. My wife grew up with someone who is on drugs and he's in and out of rehab. He uses again when he comes out. How much help do you give people and who really does pay? If the great wasn't sarcastic, then I humbly apologise. And yes, that's a whole different conversation about when do you stop offering help to someone and let them find their own way. Maybe we'll do that another day. John, thank you very much indeed for your contribution. This is BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get to the travel with Doctor Who-loving Alice Glossop.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Still bad news on the A40. Eastbound closed between the Denham roundabout and Swakeleys roundabout. Severe delays back on the M40 to junction 2 for Beaconsfield, taking over half an hour to get through there. Also, there are queues on the exit slip road at High Wycombe Handycross roundabout as people try to avoid those delays further down. M25 really busy because of this. Junction 16 exit slip roads are closed with queuing in both directions there. In Hemel Hempstead, the A414 Breakspear Way eastbound has one lane blocked between Green Lane and the M1 junction 7. In Hitchin, Bedford Road is partially blocked in both directions at Fish Ponds Road after an accident which is making it slow in the centre of town. Public transport have no reported problems. I'm Alice Glossop, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Alice. Right, that's it. That's your lot. I thought that was thoroughly enjoyable today. I certainly had a cracking time. Certainly bits of it will be popping up in the podcast this week. Go to iTunes, type in Iain Lee. You can find all the podcasts there. JVS is up next. I'm back tomorrow at 6. Ta-ta.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Iain. Good morning. Welcome to the JVS show. I'm Jonathan Vernon-Smith. It's Wednesday, it's 9 o'clock. And on today's big phone-in, is it unfair to scrap benefits for the under-25s?